And I wonder, why can't they stand somewhere and tell Kenyans the type of business that they do?
Yeah.
I wonder, within 1 week, within not even a week, within 2 days, from Saturday and Sunday, a single politician in this country can donate over 100 million, sending different groups, talking about one person. Something else stood out is, for me, is a very, very, very dangerous and sensitive statement meant by my president, the President of the Republic of Kenya, that he will not hand over power to people without a plan. There is a plan, and a serious plan for that matter, to end extrajudicial killing in this country. Kenyans must end through the ballot the current leadership.
Yes.
To ensure devolution works and is well resourced in this country, we must vote out this administration. It is not him to decide if he will hand over or not. If he remembers how he came in, it was very difficult. In fact, even there was an attempt, we hear there was an attempt to overturn his win, but that did not still stand. So it is not him. He is just one among many Kenyans, and then the Kenyans will decide who leads this country.
Thank you. Apostle, good to see you once again.
Thank you.
What stood out for you the entire week? It's been a tough one, so to speak.
Yeah, Victor. The murder of Albert Ojang was very painful to his young wife, his father, Mr. Dennis, his friends, his colleagues. But what stood out most to me is the fact that once again, the youth in our nation have been provoked into action, because to a very large extent, it looks like no one really cares about the rule of law. And while as matters are being investigated, at least there should be a very clear expression of the intention and the goodwill to have this matter expedited to the end that we know the truth, what happened, the truth about the allegations that Albert made, was it true or not? And if it was, then what should have been the treatment? Should we have murdered him or celebrate him as the one who brought out the truth? But in case his allegations were not true, then there is a system of governance in our country, and there's a legal system. If you make illegal allegations about anyone, there's a way you are treated. You should be charged in a court of law. You have messed up with someone's name or personality, jeopardized his career, etc., etc. In case there were some gray areas, then there would have been a give and take, but definitely not murdering his life. And that's my greater concern, is the fact that our youth, and remember there is a 25th coming next week. That sounded to me like it's arming them. While as in the church we've been talking about forgiving each other, let's come back to love one another. Now that, threw some spanner in the works. And I hope and pray that Kenya will be safe.
I'll come back to that, because the church also finally spoke yesterday regarding the matter. But Oscar, we are here, and I remember last week when we had a conversation, you were not so amused by what happened, and at some point you're so disappointed.
I think again for this, my take is, it is sad if we lose anybody's life, for the loved ones, for the family, and innocent lives for people like Albert, or what happened. But it was not just Albert's case. There were a lot of cases. There are some other cases. I think there was even some prisoner who died in a police station in Kisumu.
In Homa Bay County.
It was in Homa Bay County. Yeah, which is also under investigation. This is under investigation. Again, I really don't support that we need to go for mob justice if such a thing happens. I think the due process, anybody, for example, what Mbai is saying, anybody if subjected to such thing, the people who killed this guy, I don't think they were police. I think they were criminals. Whether they were in police uniform or police service, but if you murder somebody, you are just a criminal and should be treated like so. And the people who are in services in every sector, we've seen governors stealing monies meant for HIV or people in big offices. This is just
that remains an allegation, Oscar.
What I'm saying, yes, there's not an allegation. Even what they're saying about DIG having been involved in this, he was a complainant. But now, whatever investigation that IPOA is doing, IPOA is reining people in court even today. There are 3 people who were arrested yesterday who happened to have been who happened to have been inmates at Central Police Station. It is said that they might have been used by the police to do this heinous crime. They are the physical people, the direct people who did the murder. Any other person who could have been a complainant or whoever who was involved in this was somebody who only aided, probably. If it is in America, it's called, you're accused of second degree, there's first degree murder, second degree murder. People who aid the act of this particular offense. But there are people who are directly involved, who are physically involved. And you know one thing, the level of our technological power that we have today. Did the police who took Albert, for example, to Baghdadi Hospital know that there were CCTV cameras that were covering them? Probably they didn't know. But now it became open. Did we have, even the Central Police Station, the first story was that the CCTV cameras were tampered with. But IPOA is reporting that they've gotten almost 36 hours of that CCTV camera working. So it is also again captured in camera. So I think we need to not subject anything to mob justice. We need to have a due process being followed. And the beauty of it, that even the due process is not just human due process, but it is helped by technological manpower that we have everywhere. So even the phone logs, you see, the police who are escorting this guy to Baghdadi should just be taken in, for example. They hand over their phones to the investigator. The phone logs will always show where were you at this particular time, whom you are talking with, what instruction were being given. This one are with our respiratory in the name of either Safaricom or Telecom. So everything, I just say that if we subject it to political mob justice, which I can see the opposition has started, just to put more chaos in already a chaotic and...
the opposition has started, what
has the opposition done, by the way?
I mean, if you go to political rallies, to start prosecuting this case in political rallies, you will bring even more chaos to the already chaotic system. The already a chaotic problem. Because even the messaging from the police heads, what the IG is doing, can I give me a minute? What the IG is talking about, what the DCI is talking about, the messaging has been a bit problematic. So we can see a bit of chaotic system in the entire system. And the problem of police brutality, it is not something that you can blame.
How are they supposed to frame their words, the opposition?
You know, at the end of the day, if you subject some of, according to our laws, anything that is, for example, in court, are not even supposed to be discussed in this level until it is heard and determined. So when we subject and we crucify people, even you, Victor, or Mbai, or Deputy Governor, if you have a case in court and somebody decides to prosecute it in public, you might only interfere with ideas that are being conversed in court.
Let me also just ask, before coming to Terry, so which is more worse? The police, first of all, the police spokesperson said that the gentleman committed suicide.
Yes.
And based on what the opposition is saying, is whatever is already out there. Which is more worse?
What I meant is the police spokesperson was involved in misinformation from whatever we're getting now. The DIG, unfortunately, it was the DIG.
So how do you compare the two?
Completely didn't know what was happening because of his messaging was problematic. The DCI messaging could have been problematic because what is coming out now, what we are watching on CCTV, for example, when this guy is taken to Baghdadi, he's already dead.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Dr.
A very quick one. I don't want to belabor this issue because it's so painful and it's very serious. I remember when the MP died, none other by the governors and the MPs from Nyanza, they immediately following day, they demanded and said they want to know the killers. I mean, we are all saying we want the person with the highest responsibility to be arraigned. But quickly, I feel for IPOA. Let me tell you, when the vice chair went to the Senate, she said,
of IPOA.
She said, our officers are not even armed, yet we are supposed to arrest policemen. This is a case of very serious people in police. And IPOA, the chairman said here, this is in April, IPOA cannot arrest anyone. We depend on the police to arrest themselves. When you want to arraign an officer, you still need another officer to carry out the arrest. This is the IPOA chairman. Unlike other public servants, police officers don't step aside when charged. They continue to work while still armed. This is April. Now, let me tell you. Let me tell you. I'm hoping for a miracle this time round. But as we speak, I don't see IPOA doing this to the end, because they are dealing with the powerful people and they depend on the resources and the police and the handcuffs. They are not armed. IPOA officers are not armed. What are you talking about?
Why would you arm civilians?
That is the case. Then what is that? Then this is a circus.
This police.
Then they will not do their work. That's my point. IPOA is not properly capacitated to deal with high senior policemen when they commit a crime.
Let's take a break. Let's take a break.
Okay.
Look, I want
to say something.
I want to serve Dr. T.
All right.
I want to serve Dr. T.
But I have some.
When it sounds like that.
No, we don't know. Kenyans are tired, you know.
Let's take a break. I want to serve you tea. That's the only thing that will calm him down. I know. We'll break back with more. Stay with us.
Catering one-on-one, cleanliness. Where's the onion? Sasa, what is this?
Mandazi.
Mandasa kuna nyama ndani, nini mandasa ina gani?
Hii chakula hata unajua ni bei ngapi? Unataka nini?
Hata kama niko kichele, uwezi niletea mchele design.
Na sanga hii kabilo nimemeza tumba.
Namasa. Hakuna iwezekani. Atajua tu. Yeye ni nani?
Ni nini mbaya na wewe Mogaka?
Umetumaliza kabisa, yani umetuchemuza.
Yes, now, this is what we call the smoking place. None, you see?
Karibu tomeke.
Hii ujinga yako ni ya ukoo.
Got the fear of missing out? Want to keep up with all the latest entertainment news and latest celebrity gossip? From the latest rumors to popping events to the newest fashion trends, here the Ojus when it comes you get it served on time. All that and so much more on Grapevine every single Monday only on KBC Channel 1. Remember, on Grapevine, then it most probably never happened.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kenya.
Wake up with Good Morning Kenya, the morning show that's got it all.
We dive deep into issues shaping our country.
Youth are a voice of a nation.
What is the next step for the young people?
Unpacking political landscape from Monday to Wednesday.
We discuss family matters.
It is very important to guard your relationship.
And for your health,
Someone doesn't wake up and they become an addict. It's in stages.
we've got you covered each and every Tuesday at 9 a.m.
Every Wednesday, it's all about The Viewpoint.
A day in politics is like 1,000 years.
Unpacking the biggest stories of the week, getting you insights and getting you ready for your day.
And the package is not yet done. I get to fix your Thursday with some entertainment. Entertainment Thursday, it is.
Good morning, Kenya.
We shape your day.
Good Morning Kenya, every weekday morning on KBC Channel 1.
right, Dr. Mbai, you have your coffee?
Yes, yes. I know how you.
I promised.
Yes,
so all of us have our cups of coffee.
Yes, yes.
Gentlemen, let's enjoy as we do the show. I want to give Apostle. You want to say something, Apostle?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Before we went for the break, Dr. said that IPOA has no power to execute their mandate because they are not armed, etc. But I think there's one very important power or tool that they have, and the Constitution allows them to have that, and that is information. If IPOA cannot do anything else, but in the course of their investigation, they place the truth on the table and tell Kenya, we have investigated this matter for the last so many days, and this is the chronology of events. This time, this place, Albert was taken and went through this. We have full CCTV footage for that, and then this and that happened. If we have the information, we would also determine the way things should go. But as it is, if IPOA does not get the truth, then we cannot be set free. And no one else is empowered to get the truth apart from them. They're supposed to be balanced, not inclined towards any or favor any of the sides. But if they don't get the truth, then that's why I would say that though they are empowered and enabled and weaponized, then they will have failed the nation.
As you add on that, where do we bring the aspect of politics, law and order? Because it seems that at the end of the day, some politics will be played in between, some serious matters, but there must be law and order in executing, even in politics, there must be law and order.
True. All Kenyans are supposed to adhere to our laws, whether the supreme law, which is the Constitution, or any legislation or any policy by the government. We need to adhere. But the issue of Ojang is a little bit straightforward, because we have seen an agency that is supposed to protect Kenyans issuing different, and in fact, almost literally 100% of what has come out from National Police Service has been proved to be a lie. So in this case, Sir Potter once said, fish stings first from the head. Yeah. I think this whole discussion about Albert Ojang is about achieving justice.
Yes.
I want to go further and say, out of it, can there come out something, whether a law or now Kenyans should be arrested? Because I believe if it was just a post,
there is.
No, it is not there. There is something that is pending in Parliament that is supposed to be legislated on how one should be arrested, particularly if it is not criminal, if it is not anything relating to terror. If it was just a post about an IG, a DIG.
That is deemed to be a civil case, civil matter.
I expected maybe somebody to issue summons, not to use the government resources at their disposal to go all the way to Homa Bay, then start transporting the person back only for the person to... By the way, if this thing did not leak to the public, most likely Ojang, Kenyans will not have known whether there was somebody by the name, the late Albert Ojang. This matter could have just ended, covered, and the chapter closed. So maybe because now Ojang is no more, we can use this opportunity and agitate for proper law to be put in place on how our state agencies should be arresting Kenyans. They are there to serve Kenyans, not the other way around. Some of us, like being an Inspector General of Police, it's like being a god in Kenya. You know you are there to serve Kenyans. You are not there to just be saluted, to just, you want to get somebody's life, you can just do, without forgetting even the harm that you are carrying. There are many police officers around you. They are not there to guard you as a person. They are guarding the office. Today, I'm seated here as a deputy governor in Machakos. But at the end of the day, it is the office, not the person.
Yeah.
So in this case, maybe as much as we are advocating for justice, which I think in this case, let's call out the way it is. Anybody who has given misleading information, including the DIG, because we read from mainstream media, not through social media. We read through mainstream media that the CCTV in Central Police was interfered with.
Yeah.
Who sent for the interference of that CCTV? That can only come from somewhere, because it was said clearly. Some people came from Vigilance House. Who is the head in Vigilance House? It is the DIG.
Vice Chairperson actually said before the Senate, so it's out in the public domain.
In this case,
yeah.
In this case, if that is the case, the head in Vigilance House is Deputy Inspector General of Police. He needs.
I think we are going
it goes without saying that we are not saying he is going to interfere with the investigation. That's not what we are saying. But just as is the case in other sectors, if you are in any particular office, it is being investigated because of one issue, or step aside for just fairness. Because by and large, the people who are being questioned are your juniors.
Yeah.
Can they implicate you when you are in the office?
Gentlemen, how do we bridge the gap between Wanjiku and the law enforcement officers? Because it seems that based on what happened, there has been a lot of work being done to bridge that gap. But as at last week, it has widened. We've made several steps ahead, and now we've made miles of steps back based on what happened. Let me start with you, Daktari.
No, I was supposed to go. It's going twice.
No, okay, fine. Oscar, go ahead. Please complain. Go ahead, Oscar.
Yeah, but now, what I'm saying, you were discussing about civil law and order. That as much as we have all these issues, we have to maintain civil law and order.
Yes.
For even us to drive to come to this place, the roads must be orderly, there must be traffic officers, there must be order, so that and you know, we've been here. We're not new in Jerusalem. We've had a situation where we have disorder here, where you can't even get into Nairobi Central Business District.
Right.
So as much as we talk, we don't have to get into a lot of rumors and innuendos and things that are not verified. For example, what governor, deputy governor is saying, that some people we are assigned from Vigilant House and what have you. The guy in charge of Central Police Station is the officer commanding Central Police Station. He is the officer in charge. He is the IG at the Central Police Station. He is the head of the station. If you look at the system and schedule and have the head of that station is, and this crime happened under his watch. Currently, he is in police custody. You know how investigations have been done, which I think for the last, since Nudin Haji was the director of public prosecution, he decided to use a particular strategy on prosecution.
Yeah.
He never prosecuted one individual. For example, if he wanted to arrest a governor, he will arrest a governor plus 8 others. So he was arresting a network. Even now, I think what the IPO are doing are arresting a network. From the network, by the time they're brought into real prosecution, you have watertight evidence. That is when they turn other people to be state witnesses. For example, the young boy who was arrested, who was the technician of the CCTV, is under arrest. When you arrest these people who are inmates at Central Police Station, who are said to have, they are under arrest. At the end of the day, if you give them time, some of these guys will turn to be state witnesses. But leaving them to be out there, that is when witness and all these cases are being interfered with. So I suspect that if you give them time, some of these people whom you are calling for their arrestment, they will be arrested. But by that time, IPOA and whoever investigation will have a watertight case, because they will turn...
Point of order. Just a minute. It is something on what you are saying. Kindly, can Oscar tell Kenyans and the world, is he in support of exit or stepping aside of Langat or not? Because he's going around. And the reason why I'm saying so, Victor,
we don't have civil law and order here.
Yes, because These are officers under the command of Inspector General, Deputy Inspector General Police.
If we go like that, what Deputy Governor is suggesting and what Mbai is suggesting, we will end up in anarchy.
Okay.
Why? Can I finish now? Can I just finish, then I give them chance? Let me tell you.
Right.
We had last year, for example, in June, we had the Gen Zs and these young people getting raiding into Parliament, and all these institutions were being attacked, right? Then we called for law and order. Because the thing is, they were trying to go for clause 1 of the Constitution, that when people feel not represented, they can represent themselves. The problem with that particular law, it has not been operationalized. What happened next? For example, if you dethrone a sitting president in this country, then where do we head? Can I finish? We head in chaos.
Okay.
So what I'm saying, even this investigation, I don't refuse, I'm not supporting the deputy IG at any level. I'm saying that due law, the legal process and the legal procedure must be adhered to so that we get law and order. Secondly, I've told you that the strategy that I suspect, I'm a political analyst, I analyze it, the strategy that is being used, where I've seen even the case of Ongondo Were, people arrested, including the border riders. At the end of the day, you know and know it very well that some of these guys get to be turned as state witnesses, so that they are used against that is called in political science called the prisoner's dilemma, where you arrest two.
Thank you.
You don't have. Can I just finish? Can I just finish some concept? There's something called prisoner's dilemma. Prisoner's dilemma is you arrest this guy, and get evidence from them.
Oscar has so many concepts which are okay. You ask a question. What is Wajiko saying?
Can I speak for Wajiko?
For the last 1 week.
Exactly. Now that's what I want us to go to.
Exactly. What Wajiko is saying is this: is a whole week past. Wajiko is seeing a lot of drama and movements, and he's wondering if it was a son of a minister, a cabinet secretary, a PS, a son of a who is who, 1% of leadership, things would have rolled very badly. If it was a son of somebody.
But
no. But because he's a son of somebody, some teacher, whatever there, that's why it's a whole week and people are just dancing. Let me tell you, luckily for government, you have a week. Next week, during Gen Z anniversary, they are coming.
No.
Victor.
I'm saying they want the highest person to take political responsibility.
Who are
they? The beauty about Kenya, Victor, today information is seeping through, right? Information is coming. Nobody knew about Bagavi. Thank God. Okay? So people are able, Wanjiku is able to put 1+1 together. No. So they are saying this. Let me go back there. Whatever the church said, right? Whatever the opposition said, whatever everybody said, kindly DIG. All fingers are pointing at you. Kindly step aside to give people hope, to give Wanjiku hope that there could be some truth. Somebody said yesterday, please DIG, do the honorable thing. If you are not involved, you come back. That is, you are talking about law and order.
Thank you.
You talking about, I think I was there, I wanted to deliver that point. So that when you go, law and order. Law and order.
Just
you step aside, then you come back.
Can we have law and order?
Yeah.
No, that's law and order.
Apostle.
If I can say something, and I will speak like a layman, I will speak for Wanjiku.
Go ahead.
This is the thinking of our Kenyans, even the lowest of them. If those who are supposed to protect us are killing us, whether the highest or the lowest, the police force is supposed to protect us. They are part of the executive arm of government, the execution of the law and the policies of our nation. So if those who are supposed to protect us are killing us, even if it's the sweeper in Central Police, if those who are supposed to, or the CCTV engineer, if those who are supposed to protect us are killing us, then are we safe? The answer is we are not. So what should we do? And that's why all these reactions we are seeing. And I personally believe that this matter should have been treated with a little bit more of urgency so that we can quiet things and so that Kenyans can begin to look at the future and how do we continue with the process of uniting Kenya and building our nation. Of course, politics is about the fight for power, who is in control of power. But governance is different from politics. Governance is the actual application of that power for the well-being of everyone who is part of that given state or nation. And so one of the things that is messing up this whole thing is the inclusion of politics. I think we should stop politicizing this process and think as Kenyans, whether you are affected or not, as Kenyans. If it was my brother,
I don't
if
like
it was
this.
my
Let him explain what it means by politicization. Apostle, what do you mean by politicizing this matter?
What you are doing? By that I mean, no, I'm not pointing fingers at him. I'm speaking, to all Kenyans. If we use this situation to gain some political mileage, whether in government or out of government, or if, for example, if say I was president, thinking, and then I thought if I sack my own DIG, it will look like I failed. And because I'm thinking about 2027, so that will not be good for me. Okay, just hypothetical thinking. Or say the opposition. This is a case that you will use this come 2027 to show Kenyans that this government.
So both sides are using this for political mileage.
So but if we stopped all of that, and
who holds the highest responsibility? It's not opposition. It's the government.
And we thought about sanctity of life and how to make sure we remain as one, as a nation, as we approach 2027 and as we build our nation, etc., etc.
I think the show is done. And I'll be inviting Apostle, he can be in the middle. Now, Apostle has said very well. No, Victor, let me ask you. At no point in this life does opposition wait for somebody to die so they can begin political.
And you know when you have
let me say this again. At no point, let me just say this. Victor, let me be very calm here. I'm an expert on peace and conflict studies. I know how expensive conflict is. I went to school to study that.
You're not peaceful.
Wait a minute. I'm just saying, at no point does the opposition go around waiting for an agenda code, let somebody die so we can begin politicking. The responsibility of security and order lies with the government.
The thing is,
let's be very clear there.
So how do you bring that synergy between Wanjiku and the law enforcement officers? DG.
One, a panelist, Oscar, said in his statement that demonstrations that were carried out by Gen-Cs were as a result of the reason why they stormed in parliament, they did all this, is because they were promoting anarchy. Anarchy means lack of governance in place. But Oscar, I think he was out of the country and he was not following. I think whoever informed him maybe misled him, because Kenyans want their administration, whether county or national government, they want their input to be heard, to be acted upon, to be respected. The issue is why Kenyans were rejecting 2024 finance bill is because there is what they said and it was not taken on board. Instead, Parliament decided to ignore and move ahead with the things we don't know where they got them from. And that is how they said, okay, that is what we have done. Power can be exercised direct, or we can you can represent that. In this case, we withdraw it, we have it. And they did what they did. In this case, I don't advocate for violence whatsoever. That is not the way to solve a problem, especially where the country is involved. But when you have a government that cannot listen, what do you do? When you have systems of governance, institutions that have been captured, which are unable to make decisions independently, what do you do? When you have, like I'm seeing in one of the headlines, a section of church is just in bed with those with big, deep pockets, which is money stolen from taxpayers. What do you do in such a case? You are left with one option, to go to street. But I urge Kenyans, fellow Kenyans, when you go to streets and you burn or you do something, you destroy something that does not belong to you, I don't think that is the way to go. If we have to picket, if we have to demonstrate, we need to do it peacefully. Now, to come to your question, how do we ensure law and order, and we link the same to Wanjiku? One, we need to respect the Constitution. We need to respect the laws of the land. This is not to Kenyans, to even those in the authority. That is number one. Number two, we need to respect Kenyans. Some of us, even when you see some leaders just thump out here, you wonder, did this really person go through an electoral process? Or he or she just found himself there? Okay? Because some of the statements you hear are alarming. You wonder whether that is really a leader. Number
Mostly from
3.
Opposition, right?
No. When you hear, and it is here,
Where?
it is here you are seeing. Well, this is not opposition. I will not hand over power to people without a plan. What are you saying?
Why will you hand over power to people without a plan?
So, in this case, it is not you to decide. It is an electoral process. The outcome, you have to respect that. That's what I mean of constitutionalism. So, in this case, I think the third point I was putting across is we need to ensure there is independence on the public institutions.
Yeah.
We need not to be directed by anybody on what to do. We need to adhere to their mandates.
Can I come in now?
In 1 minute, I want us to talk about something else.
Just to respond to whatever the president said. And I don't like it when we have people, for example, who have authority to the level of a deputy governor misinforming the nation. For example, if you do a speech analysis of what the president said yesterday, he was very clear that we don't have to hand over power to people who want to divide this country, who've been propagating violence, and apart from that, propagating things like the shareholding and dividing this. That was politics, that's what he said.
Okay.
And I don't think it is right. Number 2, issue of the Jains, don't misunderstand me. I'm saying, when we started this panel, we were 4, but we were, like, I thought we were 3 against 1, but now I realize we are 2 against 2.
I'm the neutral. According to Daktari,
Can I finish?
According to Daktari, I'm neutral.
Can I finish? The question Victor was asking, how do we direct the country?
Oscar, there was nobody against anybody.
Okay. I thought. But what I'm saying, how do we get what
So,
we call...
Oscar, in this panel, you are the government.
No, wait.
You are declaring yourself a government.
What is agitating for? He's agitating for civil and order. I'm agitating for civil and order. They're agitating for anarchy. So we are divided. And I'm saying, the Gen Zs, whatever they were doing, and don't threaten that the Gen Zs will come tomorrow.
Oscar.
They're not going to come. There is order now.
I want
Order.
All right, Oscar.
Whatever happened last week.
It's okay.
Whatever happened last week, you must.
Okay.
On this table today, directed by Oscar, you must condemn that this what happened in the streets.
Oscar.
Spoiling people's properties and whatever demonstration that happened here was not proper demonstration.
Thank you, Oscar.
People just
Victor, allow me to reconcile these 2 brothers.
Okay.
Allow me. That's my work. While Mr. Moni,
Where do you belong?
I'm in the middle. Look, the table is. I'm in the middle. Right in the middle of the table.
Okay.
I wanted to say that while yes, the president said what he did, and to me that was politics. That was not necessarily leadership or governance. But while he might think that the opposition has no plan, the opposition is also saying he does not seem to have a plan.
And that is politics.
And I wanted to bring now, therefore, the balance.
Yes.
And so politicians will do their thing. But what Kenya is looking for is not more politics. He asked the question whether some of our leaders really went through an electoral process. But politics, and sometimes the louder you are and the more moneyed you are, you will get the seat. But a politician is not necessarily a leader. And politics is not necessarily leadership. So we should have a merge of the two, that the politician will campaign, get the seat. After that, get into power and begin to lead the people. I'm a little bit concerned about the campaigns that have started too early. This is more than 2 years before 2027, and politics is on high gear already. I think what we are looking for is leadership, and we also want to see leadership not only from the government, but also the opposition should also be leading. What should we do? And pave the way, and perhaps set some examples, some parameters. And if no one is speaking for Kenyans, The opposition also has legal experts who could maybe go to court and, present a case on behalf of Wanjiku. My point is, leadership is what will get us there, not more politics.
My last seconds, just on my last sentence on that, just 2 points very quickly. I agree with him. My point is very simple. Please, the president, by saying, I will not hand over to people without, that was ill-informed. It was unnecessary. It is causing unnecessary discussion. Wait a minute. So it's not necessary because it is not for you to hand over power. Okay. It's not for you to determine whether somebody have a plan. But hold on. No, this is very important. Please, let me be on record. We know very well the first 2 weeks of Gen Z protest last year was peaceful until it was infiltrated by people who wanted to come cause chaos and show that it is chaotic. I can't say here because I'm a leader. I like to say what I believe. The allegations last week were that the demonstrations were infiltrated by people who were impeached. Wait a minute, who came and burnt vehicles from Grogon to show that it is chaotic. I want to stop it there. I'm saying this. Please, my brother, the young people say, I need a what? I need a phone, a bottle of water, and to just go and just be there. If you allow young people to dance the whole day, they'll go home in the evening. Please, let's stop infiltrating peaceful demonstrations. That is where the problem is coming.
The leader who infiltrated the Gen Z was impeached because of hijacking the revolution.
No, let me tell you now. When the president was addressing let's not go there because that was not one of the grounds.
It was only because of the speech that was held in Mombasa against another state officer during this particular...
That was not one. Let's not go there because it's the whole discussion.
Yes. I want Oscar and Dr. Moti. More coffee. They cool down. I want to say this.
The question, DG, even as you... Because this is going to be part of as we come to the conclusion. So how do we bridge the gap? That's the question I asked. Because Wanjiku is becoming more jittery. You may be arrested because of a misdemeanor. But the fact that you've been arrested by a police officer, there is that sense of, am I safe? Yes. All right? So how do you bridge that gap? For me, that is my concern because mistakes do happen. Somebody doesn't follow the law. And a police officer is there to make sure that law and order is followed. A simple case of a civil case that would have been either taken to Mawego police station or Homa Bay or Hughes, the gentleman is no more.
And the police are human
So
beings.
how do you bridge that gap to bring more trust to Wanjiku?
By the way, Oscar, yes, Victor, thanks for that question. I think simply we do the right thing. Whether as a citizen or as a police officer or as a state officer or as a public officer, please do the right thing. Did the right thing about Abbott. Today, you could be here with us. But because we did not do the right thing, that's why we are talking what we are talking.
Yeah.
Secondly, please, as we continue talking about this grave matter, please, can we agitate for a law that will ensure the better arresting of Kenyans by our enforcement agencies? It's very important.
Yeah.
Number 3, you need to do, the reason Victor personally and my party and many Kenyans, and I can challenge, we get fought here about whether DIG should step aside. Stepping aside is not being sacked. Stepping aside is not an admission of guilty. It is a question of I'm being touched because I'm the one who complained about this thing. I did not expect it to happen the way it happened. And because it happened, I willingly step aside to allow thorough and proper investigations to be carried out. And once that is done, you come back. And you come back as a very strong leader. Now, I think if my bottom line, Victor, is we do the right thing. It's very important.
Can I just
and adhere to chapter 6 of the Constitution, Okay? Oscar, be orderly. Don't defend the realm. You know, when you're eating, you don't understand something.
Don't misunderstand me and accuse me of defending.
So, Oscar, what we are advocating here is good for you and for me and for everybody. Else. Remember the words of Siaya Governor James Orengo.
Government.
That
government eats their own children.
Their own children. Today you are here defending the same thing. Tomorrow we will meet here crying, and most likely it is us who will say.
But there's a question you have. I like to respond to your specific question because that's why you are here. You've asked a question: how safe? Because somebody can be arrested anytime, even today. What happens? Yeah. But I would answer you this way, and we are here to do analysis. One, this was not an ordinary arrest. Now, for record, DIG never formally went to complain. There is nowhere in OB, in any police station in Kenya, where he formally complained. Okay. Now, that complicates the matter, because it seems he used some other powers because of his position to go pick the guy. Okay. Now, I want to say this I think for the last time of this issue. Let me say this for record. And I'm not talking about myself, I'm talking about the loyal opposition. This is a position that there is a team that is not meant to go, massage you, pick you, go take you to court. They are meant to, unfortunately, harass, abduct, kill. And this is not me saying. It is on record like 2 months ago. The second deputy president looked it and said it's a squad and said who heads it. So this is not your ordinary person who just arrested because of, those stories of, you did this, you are taken to court. Unfortunately, there is another squad. What we are appealing as Kenyans, please, Mr. President, the buck stops with you, not even with the DIG. Okay, and what we are requesting you, just come and announce, wait, one, the DIG will step aside to allow for, and number two, I have disbanded the squad. That's what Kenyans are waiting. It's not your ordinary thing. But let me tell you this. Let me finish this way. Oh. Victor, assuming it's me, assuming the allegations that were done, we all know which ones are, we don't want to repeat them, that, or issues on corruption. If I don't own what I was told to be owning in whichever country, for example, what I would have done, I would say no, so that we send a lesson. I'll have that guy arrested. I'll go complain formally, right? I'll go complain. The guy is picked. He takes to court, right? So that another young person doesn't do the same. If I don't, if I own, if what I'm accused of, Victor, I have done what I'm accused of, I'll think, wow, kumbe these young people know what I've been doing, know what I'm doing. But me, if I have not done that, and I don't own a house where I'm told to own, I'm just ready to go. Okay. Because as a public figure, you must have some big skin. You cannot go kill. You can't kill because of an allegation.
Thank you.
Victor.
Apostle, yes. Last week I was with the chairman of the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, Dr. Reverend Kobia, and asked the same question. That the unity or the trust, there's a lot of trust deficit between the law enforcement officers and Wanjiku. And I'm still putting this question to all of you, even as we wind up, that how do we bridge that gap? Because it seems that it's widening, and even now as the church, you also have a very critical role to play to bridge that gap.
Thank you, Victor. That's a very good question. I personally think, and my thoughts are informed by the fact that the president, who is the CEO, and has a whole office and mechanisms in place. The office of the president has the highest level of intelligence. They, I believe, by constitution are allowed to get access to more information than any other state agency. I personally believe that the office, as the president has informed, well informed by his office, will be the man to sort this matter out by issuing a statement that is well informed and that gives direction to what should happen. If he chooses to, say, speak to the judiciary or to IPOA, he has been saying, speaking of course, but I'm saying with finality now, to bring to conclusion these matters that are pending in our nation, to cause national cohesion, especially because of this matter of the murdering and the abduction and harassment of young people. The president will be the one to determine this matter by the statement he will issue, and of course the execution, the action that will follow that.
My take is that we have independent institutions for us to go well as a country, we have to give authority to the independent institutions to do their work. If we say the president is the CEO of the country, the buck stops here with the president. But again, things like IBC, IPOA, these are independent institutions, and the intention of the people who drafted the constitution was that we give power not to personalities, we give power to the institutions. So we hope that one day Kenyans will have to get benefits from the independent institutions, number one. Number two,
perhaps starting with this one.
Perhaps starting with this one. Okay. Number two, that's why I told you I don't support anarchy, and I say IPOA is... Why are you pointing? No, I'm just saying. Can I just finish? Did you realize that I didn't interfere with the buyer when I was talking? Because I don't support anarchy, even in this table. Now, somebody like, you said NSIC, you were with the Reverend here. He had someone, former Deputy President Gachagua, because of inciting Kenyans to violence. He has not respected those summons. So he doesn't respect the law. He wants to continue with anarchic situation in the country. For example, now, can I finish? I'm just talking about, the due diligence. I'm saying this by tomorrow, and Deputy Governor, you will be accused of a silly thing like Deputy Governor Machakos is a wife batterer. And after that, then it goes viral on social media. And now you're being hanged on social media, and you're now told you have to vacate office over baseless accusation. I respect that we follow the law and make sure the processes are done until when we get to the right people.
Oscar, what are you trying to say?
For example,
Oscar,
when the president will do a mistake, can I just finish?
No, listen to the question.
Oscar, what are you trying to insinuate? You've given an example with the DG. What are you trying to insinuate?
No, I'm
based
saying,
on what we're discussing?
No, what I'm saying, that Oscar can be accused of doing something. I teach at the university. Then somebody accuses me of giving students free marks because of a pay.
No.
And then you accuse me.
That's another
I'm just giving an example. And don't take this one literally. I'm just giving an example. Don't pin me down on that. I'm giving an example out with Oscar. Because we give exams at the university, and they've been accusing of sex for grades.
For marks.
Then somebody accuses me of that one. Then you take me to social media. Then it goes viral. Then Oscar has to step aside. What I'm saying, if the president does a mistake of using whatever accusation on social media to fire his officers without investigation, he will end up without a government.
It's stepping aside.
He will end up without a government. The president must respect the law. Let the law take care of it, of whatever is going on. Let IPOA do its work. Let IPOA arrest those people. IPOA has arrested the OCS Central Police Station where the crime happened. IPOA has arrested other police. IPOA has many people, almost 8. 3 are being arraigned in court today. And it's going on. Can we just give time so that this thing is done properly? But if we want to do mob justice, it has never worked in any country.
Okay.
It will never work for us.
All right.
The last thing is, I'm saying, just for the sake of this nation, calling upon all this time the young people and politicians who are using the young people called the JNZs, who are an amorphous group who currently doesn't have a head or tail, to the streets for violence. It is anarchy and that type of thing. They've tried, I'm telling you for the first time.
You can't say they don't have a head or
since 25th of June last year. Many attempts have been made.
Oscar, so the question is,
anarchy in the streets.
Finally, in 30 seconds, how do we bridge the gap between the law enforcement officers and Wanjiku? You've not answered that question.
How do we bridge the gap between the law enforcement and Wanjiku? There is also mistrust levels between the two.
Yeah.
Between the Wanjiku and the law enforcers, people in authority. And for example, now the police are at their lowest at this particular time. And you saw what happened last week. People are coming to slap the police officers in the streets. We saw it on social media. That is the level of things. And if you don't do something about it, we will go to anarchy where people will be bringing goons to replace the police. And all of us will regret it. When you see people slapping police and nothing happens, on live on TV, and nothing happens, the police will take a backside. When they're beaten so much, they will take a backside. And they will see you being robbed in the streets of Nairobi, and they will do nothing, and they will be there.
Thank you.
Oscar, who started it? Victor, what you asking?
It's not about who started it. Let's do the right thing.
No. The government exists to do three things. Only. health, education, and security. So it is a
and
government
we
to
go to a
demonstrate.
level where a police officer is being slapped in the
You ask a question.
and we are showing it on
Victor,
social
you ask a
media,
question.
and we think it is right.
You know, Victor, you asked a question.
Thank you.
Wajiko wants to feel safe when they are arrested.
That's
what we are saying.
That's a very important question.
Yes.
Let's not end it that way. On how we bridge that gap, I propose the following. On top of doing the right thing, I also propose programs that will entail National Police Service to citizens. Programs like what? If at the OCS heads which level? At the lowest level. As talk about police post. Whenever there are barazas, police can engage the citizens and ensure whichever information they get from the citizens, they keep it secret and confidential. That will improve the relationship between police, National Police Service, and the citizens.
Thank you.
Number two, we need also to relook at maybe the training of our officers. Victor, today everybody is talking about National Police Service. You can imagine I'm an officer serving under National Police Service. What is going on in my mind about what is happening? We need also once in a while we also relook at the training as well as also guidance and counseling. Because you can hear somebody taking harm against the other or against the citizens. So in this case, it is a two-way thing which I'm proposing this morning. Thank you.
And Victor, I'll quote Ipoa. 20 people died in police cells in 4 months. The last 4 months. This is Ipoa.
What was the front page of that newspaper? Front page? Just lift it up.
Just raise
it up. Thank you. What's on the front page? Debt crisis. West. Yes, Mbadi, 14 trillion budget talk. That is also the front page. Thank you, DG, for that. On the front page of the Standard newspaper, that's what we have. Shameless top cops. That's also on the front page of the Standard. Shameless top cops. Oscar, what do you have there on the front page of the Daily Nation as we finalize? Daily Nation, there you have it. What do you have? Exposed. We can read it, Oscar. Kenya's arms in Sudan war. Kenya's arms in Sudan war. All right, that's where we wrap it up. Thank you so much. Today thank you even for helping me do the newspaper review. Oscar Moni, governance and public policy expert. Thank you so much for joining us, Oscar. Today, that was not coffee. Honorable Francis Bongagi, Deputy Governor of Machakos County, asante sana for coming, sir. And Dr. Peter Mbai, Secretary, Planning and Economic Affairs, DCP, and of course the gentleman who was accused of taking sides. I don't know why. Apostle James
that was quite unfair for the apostle.
Leadership expert and commentator. Asante sana for coming.
I forgive my persecutors.
Thank you so much. 7 times 7. That's where we wrap it up.
And Taifa leo sitampa mtu kisu 2007. It's in the headlines.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm Victor Lo. Have a good morning. Bye-bye.
"19 nations will compete in the Total Energies CAF African Nations Championship, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania 2024, which will be staged from 2nd to 30th August 2025. Amongst the 4 groups in the tournament A to D, Kenya is pooled in Group A, together with Morocco, Angola, DR Congo, and Zambia.
Algeria from the set piece, the header is on target, but it's saved.
This unique competition featuring the best locally based players from across the continent definitely has something for everyone. Just bring your A game as you let it flow live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
In a world where news is ever changing, staying informed is more important than ever.
Join us every week on News Check, your go-to show for the latest in current affairs, breaking news and in-depth analysis.
A warm welcome to KBC News Check.
From politics to global events, we bring you content that matter to you.
We're not just speaking about the governance and how we want to see it, but want to actually participate.
Get your facts, hear from the experts, and really understand what is happening around you.
We need to change our system first.
You have to do the impossible to make sure the message is home.
Stay ahead, stay informed, stay engaged.
Will these people, everybody agree?
Just listen to me.
Let's give him a chance to clear the air.
Catch News Check every Tuesday and Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Only on KBC Channel 1.
Greetings in the name of the Most High Jah Rastafari. My good name is Marley Moses, the positive warrior, alongside...
Yes, sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest, each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra niceness of reggae music,
extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice,
we have to do it twice.
Previously set at 3%, the digital asset tax on transactions involving cryptocurrencies and NFTs has been proposed to be reduced by at least 50%, that is taking it to 1.5% under the Finance Bill 2025-2026. I'm Regina Mayera, and we want to find out what impact will this proposal have on players in this particular space. Joining us is none other than Larry Cook, who is the head of Legal Africa Binance. Thank you very much for your time. Before we speak these amendments and so much more within the digital space, let's unpack what is Binance.
What is Binance? Simple definition, it is a crypto exchange. It's a virtual asset service provider, digital asset service provider. But I want to simplify it even further. It is a community that problem solves. And the problem that we solve for is the flow of money, the movement of value. Let me not even say money, the movement of value.
The digital tax, now 1.5, down to 1.5%. What's your take on that? What impact will it have?
It is welcome, the fact that they've decreased the tax rate, because it shows that they are willing to engage with market participants. You know, they're willing to try and understand and try and create an ecosystem that is conducive, that could attract. However, there are still some fundamentals that need to be adjusted, or we recommend at least should be adjusted, because the mechanics of it is kind of counterintuitive in terms of what they're trying to achieve.
So some critics are saying that though this is a decrease of 50% to 1.5%, that is a crypto levy there, they're saying that it could raise transactional costs. What's your take on that?
Yes, it would translate into additional costs, but the fundamental question that we proposed to parliamentary when we made, some of the submissions is that what is the objective for Kenya? Like, what does Kenya want from this new ecosystem, right? If you're trying to attract foreign direct investment, if you're trying to grow innovation and creativity in terms of new solutions, right? You need to then massage these type of topics and such changes so that they're actually conducive and achieve the effect that you want. Now, if you look at tax, it needs to be looked at with a wider scope, because you have corporate income tax, you have virtual asset, you have value-added tax, and now you have a third level of tax, which is the digital asset tax. From an investor's perspective, it doesn't necessarily welcome us in, because you have to get through various layers of tax before you actually start seeing the return. And it's not about paying tax or not paying tax, because tax is inevitable. It's one of the certain things, death and tax, right? But it's at what point in time do you tax? And likewise, with this ecosystem that Binance is privileged to be a part of, right? Because we're a community, we have education, we have a lot more than just the transactional value and the transfer of value from point A to point B. We need enough space to make the market comfortable and grow that adoption, right? And without burdening that cost factor on the consumers at a point in time when they're still trying to get familiar with this world.
Right. Let me be the devil's advocate in this, because when we hear, government come out and say that we've heard the cry of persons who are operating in this digital space, and now we have brought down the tax, by 50%, that is half, 1.5. It has recognized that those who are playing, the players have been recognized as small traders, digital artists as well as gamers and such. Are you saying would you have recommended they do away with it?
What we're proposing is something that is beneficial for the entire ecosystem. It's not something that we're asking for to be removed just for the sake of removal. What we're saying is that if the intention of the Kenyan government is to attract foreign direct investment, if the intention of the Kenyan government is to grow innovation and really compete at an international level, not even just a Pan-African level, then we need to reconsider the traditional approaches that we're applying on an emerging, new, innovative sector. And I'll end it by saying this as well. If the VAT is exempted, right, you still have CIT that's being paid by corporates, right, because Binance is a corporate. But at the same time, when you look at the digital asset tax, because of the impracticalities of its implementation, right, because of the volatility of assets that's being converted, or at the point in time we have to pay the taxpayer the tax revenue authority that those funds. At the point in time we need to identify who and when we have to tax, because it's a withholding tax structure that puts the obligation on the crypto exchange rather than on the individual. So it's almost that we play in the taxman's responsibility to collecting tax. Now, collecting tax has always been a sticky subject in all economies, right? But you might scare the people that might be more comfortable to start paying tax by putting all these layers of tax on it so early in the game.
Okay. So does the tax policy in its current form, do you find it prohibitive when it comes to crypto innovation?
The short answer would be yes, but I don't say yes lightly, because we acknowledge the fact that the Kenyan Revenue Authority and the government is listening to the sector, and they've already changed it. Like you said, they've decreased it from 3% to 1.5%. That shows that they hear us and they want to encourage the innovation. They want to attract the FDI. But it's the mechanics, understanding when is a taxable event, understanding what is a taxable asset, and then understanding who are the tax players, right? And if you look at those three components, and I don't want to get into too much legal jargon, but if you look at those components, I think using traditional ways of application, it doesn't fit in this space verbatim or like for like, because when you talk transactions, imagine being charged a tax for taking money from your savings account to your check account, and then taking from your check account and then putting it back to your savings account. And each time you do that, you get taxed. So that is the impractical and irrational, and in fact, based on the Kenyan constitutional considerations, that we say that it doesn't make sense and it's not practical, it's not feasible, it's not workable.
The critics of this particular move, the whole tax policy around the digital space, digital trading, digital asset tax, argue that this could actually push towards informal or offshore channels, for trade. What's your take on that?
Again, I don't want to call them critics, but I do think that they make valid points. And as a community, we need to not see each other as opposition or competition when we're having these conversations, right? Because at the end of the day, this is a new industry that will be creating jobs, and not creating jobs like Binance is now going to make all these hires, but every single sector will now start embracing crypto technology. That means more hires for the youth, more innovative products. That means more stimulus into the economy. So when they say that, right, it's understanding the risk, because it's the good actors that want to get regulated. It's the good actors that engage government and say, let's find a solution for this. Binance, we have about 23 licenses in various markets, right? Regulation is never something that we oppose. In fact, we encourage, we welcome regulation because that is a mechanism that chases away the bad actors. So if you're working with regulated entities and there's the regulatory regime, right? Of course, the good players will participate in that, but the not so good players, right, might find that because there's so much red tape and there's so much taxation and there's so much, their business can't take off the way it should. So what do? They resort to to bad practice.
Bad practice. On that particular note, now the European Union has designated Kenya as a high-risk jurisdiction, for money laundering and terrorism financing, and the conduit, or rather the platform, is crypto, right? As a player within this particular industry, what is your take on that particular listing, and what does it mean for crypto, transactions going forward?
This is not a new phenomenon. Kenya is not seen in isolation to that. They've listed a whole bunch of other countries earlier this week. The European Commission highlighted that AML is obviously a concern. And if you look at it, various countries were also added to the FATF grey list because of certain concerns that were raised about AML and addressing terrorist financing. So when you look at that issue, AML, ABC, they always called anti-bribery and corruption. It's not a new phenomenon. It exists in the fiat and the traditional finance world, right? Crypto is just a small infancy space where this is also being replicated. But what's nice about crypto and the underlying technologies about it is that it's immutable, so it's traceable and it's traceable, but it's also gives better security in terms of getting recourse. So what does that look like? If you have more transactions on chain, that means you have a ledger that will always record what happened and where did that value go, and that actually aids it. So as opposed to seeing it crypto players versus banks and crypto virtual asset service providers should be working together because they have a certain view of certain remit that they see. But once it goes from fiat into crypto, we have the remit and we have visibility in terms of those transactions. And it's those type of relationships that should mature so that ultimately we can both address the bad actors in the space. Stifling that with extreme or arduous tax provisions, it makes it difficult to collaborate because those taxes are more than even what we charge from a commission perspective. So balancing that out is difficult, but we need to be very careful when it comes to that.
Some of the other non-legislative reforms that were included in the budget, the proposed budget 2025-2026, include the fast-tracking of the finalization of the national policy on digital finance. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I think that's a step in the right direction. I think it's complementary because again, regulators don't operate in isolation, even though it appears to be that way at times. But ultimately, this digital economy, right? It's built on various pillars, and payments is always something that needs to be front and center when we're having these conversations, because ultimately the digital economy at some point in time always touches payment, whether it's payments in fiat, whether it's, when I say fiat, in terms of legal tender, Kenyan shillings, or if it's payment in crypto, or even if you look at more rural trading where it's almost like a bartering system that takes place. So putting that on a digital economy and making sure that the actors are in communication with each other, so there's a good synergy between the banks and the virtual asset service providers, as opposed to shying away and acting as if this problem will go away, like crypto is some fad at that point in time. At some point in time, it's actually counterintuitive again. Recently, there was a survey that the Central Bank of Kenya released where they showed that there was about 31% from banks and PSPs that were curious or willing to partner with crypto players, and it's a good survey and it's a good insight, right? I mean, 1% is better than 0%, but it's also not good enough.
The Virtual Asset Service Providers Bill of 2025, it's going to establish a licensing and supervisory framework for virtual asset service providers.
We wish it was sooner rather than later, but good things take time, as my mother would say. I would I would comment that as it is right now, it is a very robust bill. And I've engaged with various legislation from Seychelles, Mauritius, South Africa, Nigeria, etc., and policy discussions in Rwanda, Ghana, and I can put my name to it and say that the Virtual Asset Service Provider Bill for 2025 in Kenya is one of the better pieces of legislation I have seen on this continent, right? However, it would be such a shame to see that hard work and that good effort just be dismantled because of other key considerations, such as the digital asset tax. That is something that is very stifling. That is something that shouldn't be introduced if the intention is to create and promote innovation and also to attract foreign direct investment. The reason I say that is because the bill on its own needs other components so that it can flourish the way it's designed to, you know. Other aspects that could probably be doubled down on or, you know, highlighted, we've made these submissions before Parliament, you know, concepts like licensing, passporting, which ultimately, if you think of international licenses, driver's license, you know, you don't necessarily have to redo what you've done to be qualified in another jurisdiction. There's probably one or two tests just to make sure that it's calibrated and that it's aligned, right? But then what that does, it enables fast tracking of the ecosystem to get up and running. And as Binance as a player with 23 licenses, you know, that already gives you a measure that says, okay, this is a player that understands what licensing is about, has its ducks in a row, and they can start encouraging other players to, I want to say, do like we do, you know, in terms of taking compliance, taking regulation so seriously that you kind of already applying it before you even operate in.
As you come to a close, what's the future of crypto innovation in the country? Kenya, that is.
It's exciting. It's a beautiful time to be alive. I think Kenya is leading the race in terms of what it can do. I think you almost like at a boiling point, a tipping point, where one or two moves can either be a make or break. I think that, especially being at the blockchain conference, it's meeting all the young, vibrant professionals and experts in the space. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
There you have it. That is Larry Cook, head of Legal Africa Binance. A take home is that as a player within this particular industry, a consideration to the government to at least consider tiered taxation and phased out rollouts as well as privacy safeguards to better support growth and inclusion, looking at where the future is going when it comes to matters of the digital space. We're already finding ourselves here. So crypto innovation is not just about to, go latent. It's actually getting more vibrant as you go. I'm Regina Manyara. You're watching KBC Channel 1.
Got the fear of missing out? Want to keep up with all the latest entertainment news and latest celebrity gossip? From the latest rumors to popping events to the newest fashion trends, here is where you get all the tea or juice when it comes to entertainment, and you get it served on time. All that and so much more on Grapevine every single Monday only on KBC Channel 1. Remember, if you did not see it on Grapevine, then it most probably never happened.
Catering one-on-one, cleanliness. Where's the onion? Sasa, what is this?
Mandazi.
Mandazi kuna nyama ndani, nini mandazi ina gani?
Hii chakula hata unajua ni bei ngapi? Unataka nini?
Hata kama niko kichele, uwezi niletea mchele hii design.
Na sanga hii kamilio nimemeza tumba.
Namasa, hakuna iwezekani atakuwa tui. Yeye ni nani?
Ni nini mbaya na wewe Mogaka?
Umetumaliza kabisa, yani umetuchemuza. Yes, now this is what we call the smoking place. None, you see?
Karibu Tomege.
Hii ujinga yako ni ya
We are well within the second hour of Good Morning Kenya. This is where you get fascinating conversations. And now we are living in a world that is fast-paced in terms of technological advancements, especially within the cyberspace, which is why today we are looking at the 3 pillars of modern cybersecurity, that is data encryption, threat detection, and risk assessment. Dunstan Okwiri is a cybersecurity and AI expert and the president of CyberPro Global. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mike. I'm doing good.
Yes.
I'm doing good. The weather is not bad for today.
Yeah.
And just to correct, I don't want to get fired up for this. I'm the vice president.
You're the vice president.
Not the president.
All right.
All right.
Now, data encryption, threat detection, risk assessment.
Yes.
I think it's better we understand each what they stand for.
Yeah.
Let's start with the data encryption.
All right. So again, thank you for having me on the show to talk about the different aspects of cybersecurity. So when we talk about encryption, I would say encryption is one of the foundations of cybersecurity. Reason being, you see, now cybersecurity is all about most of the occasions or most of the time, it's all about protection of data. All right. Now, protection of data means that even if data is stored in these particular different infrastructures, but we are focusing on the protection of data, securing of this particular data. Of course, which it means processes, the people and the technology by itself. So encryption comes as the root of cybersecurity because of data. You see, we can encrypt data. And we're looking at the different use cases. There is data that is moving. I mean, you're sending something to someone, so that is data in transit. So there is encryption for that. We're looking at data in storage and data in use. That is data at rest for data in storage and data in use. Data in use meaning, applications, are querying for data from the databases and so on. So encryption comes in as the aspect of converting plain text into ciphertext. So that in an event whereby an unauthorized individual tends to access it, they cannot be able to access it. And typically the way it works is, now there are 2 types of encryption.
Yes.
We've got what you call symmetric and asymmetric, whereby symmetric, they're using 1 key for encryption and decryption. And then asymmetric, they're using 2 keys. 1 for public and 1 for private. And that means 1 for encryption and 1 for decryption. So encryption becomes very, very important in aspect of cybersecurity because of it touches directly on data. And then we're talking about threat detection. We're talking about tools and processes and techniques that are used to detect malicious activities. So it becomes very important. And you have mentioned something very good, the modern cybersecurity, because now technology is really very dynamic. So the modern cybersecurity, when you're talking about threat detection, you're talking about definitely artificial intelligence and to be specific, machine learning, because the algorithms that are used for machine learning. Now, machine learning is basically being able to detect patterns in a supersonic speed. So using machine learning, you can be able to predict attacks. You can be able to, create models that are able to, based on your past and current, have a predictive element in terms of what attacks can we have in our organizations. And it works different in different organizations. And then we're talking about risk assessment. Now, these are processes within an organization or within businesses that you can be able to, assess the organization's infrastructure, assess the organization's element in terms of, we have these particular assets. So what is the likelihood of these particular assets being attacked by malicious users? What is the probability? That is, what is the likelihood of these particular assets being attacked, and then what is the impact in an event? Or in cybersecurity, it's not about when. It's about it's not about if. Sorry, it's about when. So when they are attacked, what is the impact do they have for the organization? And it goes and narrows down to the mandatory objective of the organization. For example. I would assume for KBC being, a news or entertainment platform, the core objective is to be able to give people news and entertainment. So when you look at the assets you have in your digital infrastructure, if an event happens that our data has been breached, our website has been breached, I mean, what is the impact will it have in terms of affecting our core objectives as a business?
Now, when you talk about encryption, it's all about who accesses data.
Yes.
But then again, can it become obsolete? You know, we are in a very dynamic technological age.
Yes.
Can it become obsolete in the phase of quantum computing?
It's a very good aspect. I wouldn't call it obsolete or void. Rather, technology is moving very fast. All right. Now, classical computers, basically, you know, our mobile phones, our laptops, our desktops. So what usually happens is that these classical computers do operate in what you call binary, right? Zeros and ones. So zeros for off and ones for on. And so quantum computing is operating in quad bits. So these particular bits are overlaid on each other, right? So now imagining a task that will take you maybe 2 hours to complete using a classical device, I mean your phone and your laptop, quantum computing will take it in a split second. We'll do it in a split second. And you see, going further and looking at encryption, converting the plain text into ciphertext. Of course, we're using keys and algorithms to be able to do that. But then with quantum computing, with classical computing, it could take maybe a week or 2 weeks or even a whole year trying to decrypt a file or a program or a device. But with quantum computing, it takes a few seconds or a few minutes, you see. Now, it definitely affects encryption because what could not be done or what could be done in a very long time can now be done in a split second. But then there is the issue of the post-quantum phase, right? Now the post-quantum encryption, whereby now researchers and analysts are developing encryption algorithms that are able to withstand quantum computing power. And that could mean that, hard coding encryption and so many other things. And I'm very glad that right now we're in that phase whereby, we're able to develop algorithms that are able to withstand quantum computing. So no, not really obsolete, but we are in that phase. It's a challenge. And at the same time, I would say a blessing in disguise because it could be used for good and for bad, depending on, again, personal intentions.
There's also it brings about the aspect of user-facing apps, the usability and data privacy. So how do you balance data privacy and usability in a phase where, in a user-facing app and system?
But thank you for that, Mike. Now, there are 3 aspects in terms of applications. Right, I usually call it a tripartite. So there is the usability, there is the security, and then there is the functionality part of it. Right, so your application or applications as developers should always be balanced. You see, when you look at that particular triangle, the circle in the middle, that is your application. So they should balance between usability, they should balance between functionality and security. Now, when you look at that particular triangle and then you move the triangle towards the side of usability and security, you're missing out on the functionality, which becomes again an issue. Now, there is a balance, but again, it's a gray area because the more you emphasize on security, the more you're losing on usability. And it affects on one of the key principles of cybersecurity called KISS, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Applications that are very simple to use are very good for good users, but very difficult for users with ill intent. And I'll give you a case study. You look at M-Pesa. Most people have used M-Pesa. I'm sure you have used M-Pesa. I use M-Pesa every day. So M-Pesa is very easy to use, actually. If you don't have an application, you go to SDK Toolkit. You're able to send money just by the number, the phone number of the recipient, the amount and the PIN. But then now, what if, for the sake of security, they make it, before you send money, you're going to buy, veggies, you're just paying 50 shillings. And then now you're supposed to, key your maiden's name, key the dog, your dog's name, the first place where you were born, the school you went, all those questions. So it becomes very difficult for normal users to use it. Of course, it emphasizes and heightens on the issues of security of the application because it will be very difficult for a user with ill intent to guess all these things correct, all right? But then at what cost? But you see, it's been very difficult, I would say, from where I stand, to be able to breach M-Pesa from the from the back end side. What has been happening is people call you and then you're able to give them your credentials unknowingly. But now you see M-Pesa is very simple to use, but then it's quite secure. As when you look at what is there in the market right now, M-Pesa is very secure but very simple to use. So it has really maximized on that principle of keep it simple, stupid.
So speaking of back end access, there's a question of, is it prudent to have governments hold back or have backdoor access to encrypted data in the context of national security? Are there blurred lines within that space?
Wow, okay. Now this is how I'm going to answer that question, right? There is a gray area. There is a thin line. Why? Because when you look at it from the law perspective, we would want to have access to data that we feel these devices have been used to perform a crime. All right, so we would need to have access to their data, their devices, and therefore get the logs and the activities and all these information. You see, it would be very important in helping that particular case. But then when you look at it, if we give them access to our data or at the back end to access our devices, then it means we are infringing on the data privacy aspect. Because again, it turns down to encryption and data privacy. They are all entangled at one place. You see, the main component, the root, the foundation of cybersecurity is the three aspects called confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So if one, two, or all of them have been breached, then of course that is an attack, or that is definitely a breach of cybersecurity. If I'm able to breach the confidentiality of your device or data, then that is, I would categorize that as a cybersecurity attack, all right? Because you are having access to what you have not been authorized to. So again, it turns down to ethics, turns down to the intentions, but again, what is the line between giving them access for them to use in that particular case and for them not to use in just the normal citizens who are doing their things?
Interesting. Now, from the prism of threat detection, how do you balance effective threat detection with user privacy rights?
Now, first things first. I think I would say the foundation of all this should be compliance. Compliance in terms of businesses, organizations, however big, however small, and of which it will turn down to individuals. So compliance, for example, the law of the land, we have got the Office of the Data Protection Commission, and we have got compliance that you should be able to have as an organization, right? As a data controller, as a data processor, of which there is always auditing and verification if you indeed are following that. And so compliance becomes the root of all these things, because if you're compliant locally and globally, it becomes quite difficult to be able to work around the compliance. I mean, you either do it or not do it. So that is how I can be able to put that up. So the answer to that is basically compliance.
Does compliance really, does it give a sense of security, or is it just, complying, does it mean that you are secure? Or is just a false sense of security?
Not really. This is how I would say it. You see, for you to be compliant, for example, with the ISO 27001, that particular framework, or different frameworks, you need to be able to, there's auditing which happens, all right? You are claiming that, based on your infrastructure, you are storing data locally. What are you doing? What have you done to ensure there is security of your data that you're storing, all right? You are claiming that, there is a third-party company which is doing this particular service for you. Can we have a look at the SLA and see, what clauses do we have in terms of the confidentiality aspect? You are saying that, employees or staffs can be able to come along with their devices. What policies do you have against, making sure that there is no breach when they buy your IDs, that is, bring their own devices? You are saying that, this is the way you handle data for clients or stakeholders. Then how do you do it? Can you be able to show us? And that is basically what happens when you're getting certifications for this framework, which is very, very important because look at ODPC, Office of the Data Protection Commissioner. When you want to apply for any accreditation or certification as a data processor or controller, you therefore have to comply by certain things. I mean, when you're talking about infrastructure, what different levels of security do you have? And it's a very intense process. And you see, you're complying at the same time. If there was something you'd not done in terms of security, then you have to do it, because you won't be able to be accredited without, these bodies certifying that indeed you have done that. And of course, the main part is improving over time, because the aspect of security, unfortunately, I wouldn't say there is a platform, a system that is 100% hack-proof, but what you can do is make it very difficult and very impossible to be able to work around these particular systems. And it all, again, not only infrastructure, platforms, tools, softwares, applications, it comes down to employees and the people, because you might have $1 billion, applications to be able to secure and protect your infrastructure. But you see, these particular platforms are made for human beings to use, for people to use. So if you happen to train your people very well, and of course, the company being compliant is the people being compliant. So it comes down to the root of it, which are the people.
Speaking of which,
yes,
can behavioral based threat detection be effective when it comes to employees?
Very effective, super effective. Now, how? I'll talk about this way, right? When you have a device, your mobile phone, maybe you're used to doing a certain things on your mobile phone, and especially modern phones. At some point, it will prompt you to have you enter the password, or your pattern or your PIN. I don't know if that happened to you, but to me it has. And when I change the behavior, the way I use my phone, the moment I just go to any application and open it, most of the time it prompts me to have the password or the PIN or the secret code, so that just to verify. I'm trusting that it is your device. I'm not saying it is not your device. That is the whole logic behind it. I'm trusting it's your device, but let me just verify that it is you. That is why it prompts to do that. So yes, behavioral analysis is very important, because if daily you're coming to work and you're taking coffee and you're saying hi to everyone, and then all of a sudden, Mike, you're coming to work, you're not talking to anyone, the coffee you usually take, you don't take it. I mean, there's definitely something up. If it squawks like a duck, then definitely it's a duck. So behavioral analysis is very important. Why? Because one of the most important or the critical aspect of cybersecurity, which mostly malicious users do utilize, is the human aspect, the human factor. So if you're able to determine the behavior, the normal behavior, and set a baseline for the normal behavior of these users, it becomes very important. I mean, why would Mike, if they're accessing the company's portal or the company's email at home, why would they have very many failed logins? I mean, they know their passwords, they know their email ID, so why would they have very many failed logins? Then definitely there is something up.
We are living in the age of AI.
Yes.
And now that we are talking about data encryption, threat detection, and risk assessment, can the AI detect cyber attacks before they happen, or they just a reactionary kind of an approach to the system?
Reactionary basically is, being proactive and reactive. I will categorize that. Now, AI is super important, but for people and organizations who are not using AI, will definitely be replaced by businesses, people, and organizations who are using AI. All right? And therefore, you can decide to use AI in whichever form you want to, for it being reactive, for it being proactive. But why would we wait, for us to be proactive, right? Cybersecurity, mitigating cybersecurity threats and vulnerabilities, definitely the most important part is to be reactive.
Yes.
All right, in terms of we are detecting and preventing, not waiting for it to happen. That is a very traditional approach of cybersecurity, which again, most cybersecurity applications, which were developed back then, were using it for. So AI, the most important part of using AI, and to be specific, machine learning, is to be able to have a predictive element. We're predicting that based on infrastructure, based on what is happening in Africa, in Kenya, in the world, you could most likely suffer from this particular attack. Could be a phishing attack, could be a ransomware attack, or could be whichever attack. So the most important element of artificial intelligence is the predictive element. But of course, you can be able to use it for the proactive approach. Yes.
Yes. Now, organizations mostly are operating now within the cyberspace for business and everything, even matters to do with data.
Yes.
But is it possible to say that we have a 100% secure system?
No.
Why is that?
We will never have a 100% secure system.
What does secure mean?
Secure means your data, there is confidentiality element, there is integrity element, and then there is availability element. That is what security means. It's that simple. Within those three words, right? Confidentiality meaning that the only persons who are authorized to access this particular data or systems are the ones who are accessing it. Integrity means the systems, the data is not being changed or altered. Right? Availability means I can access it when I want to. Because I usually like using this example. We are in 2025. Now imagine this is the time when we are getting now COVID-19 reports. How of importance will it be to us? It won't be that important. But it was important during that time so that we can be able to understand where to, redirect our resources. So data is only important when it is available when you need it. So security basically means those three things: confidentiality, integrity, and availability of both systems and data. Because data are stored somewhere. Data moves through different elements in IT infrastructure. And for organizations to be in the cybersecurity space, it's basically because of digitization. Now, digitization meaning that the world is moving to, storing things logically, not physically. The files are no longer being stored in cabinets, but are stored in, machines and data storages and servers.
Now, let's talk about risk assessment. Structured, what is the process of analyzing and evaluating risks?
Now, risk assessment is very important. I would call it, when you are trying to understand the posture, the security posture of any organization or business, it's very important to be able to understand the assets around. And you see, the key thing in risk assessment is the core objective of the business or organization. Now, the core objective is to do this and this and this, and therefore this and this and this. So you're looking at the infrastructure and what the assets they have in terms of, these guys have servers, they have networks, they have data storages, they have this and this and this. So in an event, or if something happens, or when something happens to any of the assets, number one, like I mentioned, what is the likelihood? What is the likelihood of our, data storages or our local data center being attacked? If the likelihood is high, then what is the impact? In an event, something like that happens to our servers or our network, what is the impact? And of course, the impact is narrowed down to the core objective of the business. So how will it affect our business? Will we still be able to continue with our core mandate as an organization, as a business? If the answer is no, then that is a very, very high asset, highly likely, there is high likelihood, and that asset has to be protected at all costs. And of course, it comes down to preparation all the way to documentation, evaluation, and lesson learned. So preparation, this is whereby you're defining the scope. Our businesses does this and this, and therefore we need our networks to be able to continue with our services. We need our data storages to be able to continue with our operations. We need servers, and we need this and this. That is for any organization. All right. So after you have prepared, there is the aspect of now analyzing and assessing the assets, right? Now, we have networks. What can we do for networks? And unfortunately for cybersecurity, as of now, where I stand, there is no one tool that is able to protect the whole asset, right?
It's not a one-fits-all.
Yes. So, for networks, we've got network security. For databases, database security. Of course, some tools and platforms complement each other here and there, but there is no one tool to be able to do all these things. So for different controls in infrastructure, you need to be able to understand that, this particular element, this particular control, this is the security measure for it. And then how am I able to monitor all these things? Monitor and evaluate. Monitoring is very important because you're able to detect and, of course, prevent such kind of things.
So how does all the three pillars now work together to enhance cybersecurity? How do they? What's the nexus?
Now, how they work together in cybersecurity? I'm looking at it as technology is basically I would say we have had this conversation very many times, but I would say confidently that the most important or the critical asset for businesses and especially in technology is data, right? Because without data, I wouldn't say softwares will exist. Because when you look at the typical use cases for software is, processing data, input and output, and even computers will not exist without data. So the most important asset is data. And what protects or secures data in relation to cybersecurity is encryption. So encryption becomes paramount in whichever aspect, in technology and in business and in organizations and whatever, item that you're working on. So encryption becomes very important.
Yes.
When you look at any organizations, for you to understand the security posture, you need to perform a risk assessment for it. So a risk assessment is able to tell you, what the core business for this organization is this, and therefore we have got different controls, we have got different assets that needs to be protected, and you understand you have to, you need to get a risk evaluation matrix and understand the likelihood and the impact of this particular, attacks happening on these particular assets, and therefore categorize them and know where to redirect resources. All right, and after you've done that, then you are able to, handle your threat detection and monitoring. And of course, I wouldn't say that you don't do it with AI because it's very important. It's only AI which can stop AI because they are thinking very fast. They are very fast. They are very convenient. They are not getting tired. So automating or training a model that it's able to think broader. And you see, as a human being, it's very difficult to be able to, just prevent AI. But rather what you can do is have AI to defend against any AI, powered attacks. And therefore, threat detection will come in after you have analyzed, assessed your assets, and understood the likelihood, the impact, and therefore you can be able to, monitor it by performing threat detection and prevention.
Indeed. Thank you so much for making time and coming to talk about these things.
Thank you.
Asante sana. That is Dunstan Akwiri, who is the Vice President of CyberPro Global, and also he is a cybersecurity and AI expert. This is where we end this conversation, but don't go too far. Vivian Ndegwa is up next with Family Check, and the topic for today is Stronger Together, Building Resilient Families and Coping with Economic Pressure. My name is Mike Migwi. Stay with us.
Nineteen nations will compete in the Total Energies CAF African Nations Championship, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania 2024, which will be staged from 2nd to 30th August 2025. Amongst the 4 groups in the tournament A to D, Kenya is pooled in Group A, together with Morocco, Angola, DR Congo and Zambia.
Algeria from the set piece, the header is on target, but it's...
This unique competition featuring the best locally based players from across the continent definitely has something for everyone. Just bring your A game as you let it flow live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Got the fear of missing out? Want to keep up with all the latest entertainment news and latest celebrity gossip? From the latest rumors to popping events to the newest fashion trends, here is where you get all the tea or juice when it comes to entertainment, and you get it served on time. All that and so much more on Grapevine every single Monday only on KBC Channel 1. Remember, if you did not see it on Grapevine, then it most probably never happened.
In a world where news is ever changing, staying informed is more important than ever.
Join us every week on News Check, your go-to show for the latest in current affairs, breaking news and in-depth analysis.
A warm welcome to KBC News Check.
From politics to global events, we bring you content that matter to you.
We're not just speaking about the governance and how we want to see it, but want to actually participate.
Get your facts, hear from the experts, and really understand what is happening around you.
We need to change our system first.
You have to do the impossible to make sure the message is home.
Stay ahead, stay informed, stay engaged.
Will these people, everybody agree?
Just listen to me.
Let's give him a chance to clear the air.
Catch News Check every Tuesday and Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Only on KBC Channel 1.
I never heard the music so sweet. I repeat.
Well, go on, me brethren, big things are going. Remember, each and every Monday we have to shell down the place with nothing but the best of smooth way the vibes in your favorite station. You know these things.
Alafu kila Tuesday, kata simu tupo side, giving you Kenyan music from the 254.
And of course, you can spice up your Wednesday by enjoying blazing hot hip-hop and R&B jams.
We don't got no label. She say she want bottles.
Vibes and vibes as we go all across Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, all the way to Tanzania to give you nothing but the best on Afro Thursday. Make sure you make a date with us each and every single Friday with me, DJ_Liza Diva,
DJ Cole that,
and me, Wanjiko. This is Club One Extra.
Unanifanya nisikie kunyongwa. Hatija ai, mani especially ukisonga.
Mtazamaji, tumekuandalia taarifa zinazogonga vichwa vya vyombo vya habari kutoka hapa jijini Nairobi na pia mashinani.
Wanahabari zaidi ya ubora wao wako ange kukuletea habari pindi zinapochipuka kutoka pembe zote za Kenya.
Kwenye kipindi cha Tamrini, tunakuletea mazungumzo ya moja kwa moja kufafanua na kuangazia masuala yanayokuhusu wewe mtazamaji.
Kumbuka, taarifa yenye thamani daima hupokewa kwa amani.
Hivyo basi usikose kuungana nasi kila siku ya wiki.
Tukupakulie na tukutaarifu taarifa yenye mnato kwenye runinga unayoienzi. Kwenye Kurunzi Mashinani,
sisi DC.
Msana uko na confidence sana?
Sana.
Yaani mama kukwama na hiyo uongo.
Uongo gani?
Mama yako ni nani?
Why all this hatred towards me? You should be grateful that I'm here to help.
I didn't ask for your help.
Chiro, can I trust you?
Hi, madam. Hiyo sitakuwa responsibility kubwa sana.
You really think with that kind of attitude we are going to change this company?
What kind of attitude?
Kadi mgeni kanajivani kadiva. Badala kamsaidie, kanataka compete na yeye.
Sasa unani?
Thank you for staying with us. Now, Good Morning Kenya gets to continue. And as Mike had mentioned, we get into Family Check and we get to talk about building resilient families and how to cope or how to cope with economic pressures. We're just trying to find ways of ensuring that we're building stronger families for the better. And joining me for this conversation on my immediate right, we have Dr. Julius Kimani, who is a counselor and relationship expert. Dr. Julius, welcome to the show.
Asante sana.
It's a pleasure to have you on board. And right next to him, we have Dr. Jane Kimani, and she's also a counselor and relationship expert. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Are you a couple?
Yes, we are.
Yes.
All right, okay. Wonderful. So we have the Kimanis, and they're here to just enable us or help us dive deep into this conversation. Maybe my first question would be, what does resilience mean when it comes to the context of families or the family life? What does resilience mean?
I think for me, I'll use my own coined word. I would say it's the power, it's stability, the power to stay, the power to stick. Can I call it stickability? That's why I said I'm going to coin my own English. It's either the ability to stay, the determination to remain, the determination to fight on. Yeah.
That is what it looks like from your point of view.
When you've got to be resilient, you've got to say no.
Yeah.
You just don't have to have a key of going back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Kimani, the male?
The male.
Yeah.
Well, I think it is facing all the challenges that come your way in marriage, and not bailing out. Purposing to solve every challenge that comes, every conflict that comes your way. You solve it, and you stay on together. That's what I think I would call resilience.
When it comes to the family context.
Yes.
And you know, having said that, or having put that out there, statistics shows that most families actually crumble, or the highest causes of divorce. You know, first of all, the first one is actually finances, not even infidelity, you know, as people may think that maybe adultery or infidelity may be the most reason why families get to break, but finances is actually the main cause. So this is actually a very needed conversation, you know, just why is that so, you know, or where does it come in? Where does finances come into a point where now it's conflict? It's actually to a point where we're no longer resilient. As you've put it, resilience is remaining and choosing to stay. So what does it have to do with all of this, you know, the finances?
Well, one way I would look at it is that when two people get married, they become one flesh. That is the Christian context. They become one flesh. And most people, they tend not to allow their finances to get married. They want to stay my money, or my money, our money. So, and that the moment you don't allow your finances to come together, then the biggest challenge begins to happen. Because what I usually say is money is like rain. You know, when rain falls on a dry ground, that's when you discover what was inside. There are all types of plants that will come up. If there were good ones, only the good ones will come up. So when money falls on a relationship, the first thing, you discover who that person is. Some people change and they become horrible because horribleness was in them, so they were just waiting for the rain to fall on them. Others, when rain comes, the rain of money comes upon them, they become very good people because now they are able to express their love using the money. So it is the nature. Actually, money reveals the nature of the two people who are married. And if they had not had a conversation on how to spend their money, on how to budget their money, then most likely that now brings out the biggest difference. Because the true character is displayed when money is present. Again, you find when money is not present again, it also brings a lot of challenges. Because there are people who will judge a relationship or their relationship based with the unavailability of money. They think probably one person is not working too hard, and therefore the blame game begins. So unless there is a sober conversation around money from the beginning, or even as you continue, you sit down and you discuss, you have a new mindset about how money is going to shape your relationship, then it becomes a very big challenge.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a challenge when it's in abundance, and it's also a challenge when, you know, there's a lack of it. This is very interesting. Now, just how does that, you know, financial stress or economic stress, you know, show up in families? How does it show up?
All right. I'm going to say it reflects in many different ways. Let me talk of when there isn't, usually people tend to stick together unless in the courtship, somebody had acted differently. There are some young men who will take a loan to impress a girl, borrow a car, borrow a suit, borrow a shoe.
Yeah.
And so this girl gets married with an illusion that there is so much money, there is so much abundance, everything is happening in this relationship. And most people will give promises of what they can't fulfill. And so when this girl gets into this marriage based on an illusion and the reality settles in, she does not know how to marry the two. She feels like you lied to me to get me. She feels like she was conned into that marriage. And so usually that brings a very wrong foundation because somebody begins to feel like you got me here wrong. It started on the wrong footing. So when there isn't, that is the only element. But if two of you got married knowing this is our state, there's always a hope. Actually, most marriages at that level thrive on hope. And one day we will develop into this. However, when again money comes, and it is especially with one partner who has gotten the breakthrough, because you may hear, okay, the husband got a good job or the wife, then at times there is a tendency of seeing a character you had not expected if that money had not been budgeted for, if it had not been planned for, and if there's been resentment in your heart. And this is a time you feel like, I need to revenge, I need to avenge. And so at times there's that feeling of, no, I'm not treated well. The third element also is when one person, both of you are working, both of you have got a stability of sorts, but then one person either resorts a lot to alcohol and leaves the burden to the other, or gambling. There's so many reasons. It could be alcohol, it could be gambling, it could be a different lifestyle. And so somebody feels like, I have to pay the rent alone. Usually they say he doesn't care. Children have been sent home, he doesn't care. Not that he doesn't get the money, or she, on the other hand, not that the partner doesn't get the money, but it's just a hajali. And so one person feels oppressed. And usually the question they'll ask when they come for counseling is this: why should I be so oppressed with a man I need to feed who is not bringing in anything, and I still have to take care of the children? Well, I could do that alone. Yeah, so there are so many factors that bring come in as a build up to that. Yeah, so we need to, and the other one, as he said, when money is not married, at times it's private development. A person can have their own private development. Like we had a case of a man who said he got to discover that the house they were living in was actually owned by the wife. And he didn't know how to handle it.
I think I've heard of that story.
It has not become very common. It has become very common. And they get an agent who will be demanding. So it is private development. And at times, you know, as a lady gets to know, my husband has bought this plot. Sikujua, the family knew, but I am not made to know. So it brings a lot of division, a lot of dissettlement, and hence becoming the #1 cause of instability in relationships and in marriage, leading to divorce and separation.
All right. Are these cases that you get to deal with, you know, are they as common, you know, as a counselor, as a relationship expert? Are the, you know, economic stress or finances one of the reasons or one of the things you get to tackle most of the times with couples?
In fact, they are very common because what happens is that one of the biggest signs of lack of oneness is actually displayed through money. You find maybe a husband or a wife begins to withhold what they have. And when they withhold what they have, It's just like the way nations. When a nation is creating a financial embargo on another nation, it shows that there's a problem in between, and so they're either trying to say we have a problem. Money comes to reveal what is the problem in that particular marriage. And so a lot of them come and they say, I've just discovered my husband is funding maybe another person, or my husband gives to his family more money than he actually does to us, or he gives to friends. And you see, that's what we were saying. When money does not come to the table and does not become united, then you will find a lot of people, the money that is not budgeted for is the one that looks for other things to do. So those are major things that couples deal with. Another thing is you'll find somebody goes out and invests secretly, and they don't tell the other person. And of course, it's good to invest. And men love doing it, especially in a secret way. They may be doing it for the family. But you see, on the other hand, the partner may want to know, why are we buying this? And also wanting to be involved. So that lack of involvement brings a lot of conflict in relationship. And I usually say one of the biggest signs that your money is not married is when you are a couple and you find, and people can detect. People will come to, for example, to the husband, and they bring a card for fundraising, and they go to the wife and take a card for fundraising. That means they're already knowing, hapa naweza tuanisha watu wawili. But the moment a husband says, nasi kukaliwa, I will talk to my wife and see what we can give you. That person already knows, I cannot separate the two. Or the wife, on the other hand, says, I will talk to my husband and we'll see what we'll give you. It shows that there is a unity in the couple. And those are some of the things that come to the table. You find somebody, maybe the husband is complaining, oh, my wife, niliona sijui amefund chama ingine hapo, pesa fulani na huku tunalala njaa. So these are major issues that are coming to the table every single day. And unless couples sit down and talk about money openly, they are not going to come to an end.
So clearly communication plays a very huge part in all of this, So when exactly do we bring in the topic of money? The topic of finances, the topic of how we're supposed to be, to split bills in the home. When exactly should this conversation happen? Because I feel like sometimes when you're courting, when you're in the dating stage, this is my boyfriend, this is my girlfriend, such topics never really come up. And that is when, when you get into the marriage now you don't know who's supposed to be paying rent. You just assume the money is supposed to. Are these conversations that should start that early?
Actually, that's why I say there should be a preparation of sorts in every marital relationship. There should be a preparation, and the people who come, let's say, for premarital counseling, a very key issue we tackle with them is about money. Very, very key. What is your short-term goal, mid-term, and long-term financially? What goals do you have? What do you intend to do with your money in that duration? Number two, actually it starts with how much do you each earn, averagely, because at times they may not want to disclose the actual figure. So who is going to cater for this bill? Because we are past the days when you used to say the man caters for everything, yako ni yetu, yangu ni yangu. No, that doesn't really work. Perhaps the girls who are working on that, the man will soon get very tired because it cannot be so. It's very oppressive because you're also bringing in some money. So I believe there should be some equity and this should be discussed. If then you're getting married, the challenge comes this way. When the lady brought in a blouse and then a skirt, akaiacha kwako. Next time akaacha 2 dresses. Next time akaacha 5 dresses and some shoes. She's getting married pole pole.
Next ameshahamia huko sasa.
The next thing the guy discovers, but there are people who tell us, I discovered I'm married now. I don't realize how she got in, but we're just friends. And now here she is. And he's okay with the situation, but there is no preparation. So when there is no preparation, the challenge that comes in is that you never have time to discuss this. Because she comes and you're still paying rent, You're still paying your bills, so life continues. Now, I think there's a time when somebody needs to discover, hiya, you know, the girl who said, mjai yenda kwetu, all right, tutapanga kwenda kwenu, but let us also put our house in order.
Yeah.
Let us put our house in order. Who pays for what? Who does what? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you don't expect me to still live with you like everything is on my side. Meanwhile, I'm also footing your food bill here. So I believe it's the man who should take the initiative. Sorry. Because not many ladies will allow that conversation unless the man begins. And we take the initiative to ask, how do we handle each other financially?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I would love for you back at home to also join us in this conversation, or from wherever it is that you're watching us from. You can actually call in live and give us your remarks on it. 0716 103 301. 0716 103 301. You can call, or you can also send a WhatsApp message. We would also love to get to hear from you. Now, clearly we live in a fast-paced world. Everyone is busy. We're all trying to make money, you know? So how does that dynamic affect the family? Because I can imagine now the children, you know, as much as we're talking about this, looking at the finances, how about we also look at it from the point of, you know, family generally, and the bond, the bonding of the family being together and having time, the parents having time with their children, and the children also getting to enjoy spending time with their parents. What, you know, in the world we live in, where everyone is busy, as I had mentioned, just how does this affect the family dynamic?
A lot.
Now, kila mtu anasema economy ni mbaya, so lazima tutafute. So how is it affecting the family?
Of course, one of the thing is, you find, and when there is no understanding, you find there is no close bonding. Because at the end of the day, the desire for any person when they get married is for them to have that intimacy and closeness. Intimacy, I'm not talking about the other context, but I'm talking about just being close together. But you see, this pursuit of money has caused so many people to disappear from homes that they only come to children who don't even know them. And they actually express their presence by buying things and giving money to kids and giving gifts. And at the end of the day, as counselors, when we sit down with even children, they say what we need most is our parents, the presence of that parent at home. And unfortunately, some people have looked for so much money, and they found it. But then they found that the kids were lost into drugs, into alcoholism, into a lifestyle that is crazy. And they now begin to spend the same money to try to rehabilitate these kids. So I say, in the pursuit of money, you have to allow, you have to let know that your family, whether you're a man or a woman, you have to let know that I value my family. And somebody was asking the other day, now what happens when I'm a father who works from far away and I only come home at the end of the month? Or the same thing with mothers. I say, create such a quality time that when you arrive, they can feel you. If it is you have only 2 days, let that 2 days be felt. Unfortunately, you find if a man comes home, he drops his bag, and the next thing he hits and goes to the village area where he can show the other men that yes, I have been earning some money. So akirudi nyumbani, you find maybe the kids are still asleep, and that causes a lot of challenges. So what we're saying, there is nothing wrong in trying to find stability for your family in looking for that money, but make sure that the opportunity you have to be with your kids or with your wife or with your husband, make it so intentional that they can feel, they drink you and make sure they are no longer thirsty. Because I know of people who are working abroad. They come even after 5 years. But when they come, they are so felt that when they leave, the children feel like we had our dad or we had our mom, na tukatosheka na yeye. So it's all about being intentional and making time for that family, whether it's for your wife, for your husband, for your kids.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would love to hear it from you, Dr. Jane. You know, just getting the female perspective of this. How do you draw that balance? Because, you know, as women, we are born nurturers, and from back in the day, women were meant to be at home and take care of their kids, but that's no longer the case now, you know. Just how well can one be able to draw that balance whereby that motherly love is felt at home, but you're still out here hustling?
I say the most important thing is priority. Put your priorities in order, because there are things that will not change. Your son will not be 2 years twice.
It's true.
And children come back home because of memories. And the first creator of memories is the mother. Somebody said, when they went away to college, every morning they would smell their mother's tea in their minds, because every time she was there to make them tea. So I keep saying something. You've got to look at what is dominant in your life and what you take the most role, and that is your family. And you know, at times people can be at home, as many children complain, but they're on their phone. So it is actually availability when you're at home. Because there are people who are at home, but they're not available. They're available to their phones. They're in social media. I went somewhere and I saw a lady who had taken, I think, her 2 children for lunch. But she was on the phone. The Kasmolona was really trying to tag her address to get attention. The lady was like, okay. And then back to the, you know, almost felt like intruding and telling her, can you just put your phone down? These children need your attention. So I believe the amount of time you get with your children, make it intentional, and be a good listener. Be a very, very good listener. Yes, you may come home late, but of course not as late as a husband, as much as we need to look for the money. But whatever time you get home, make sure it is time that they are still alert, that you can eat together. And when you can create the time, let them know. And I tell people, train a day. A day when everybody knows I'm the one making dinner. However busy you may be, let them know this day, it is mom who cooks. This day, or these 3-4 days, ni mother anapika. You know, that kind of thing is so important, because children also work with structure. When you tell them, I cannot be available every day to make for you dinner, but I can be available on these 1 or 2 days, and then the weekend, perfect to them. They work with structure. So you need to bring in a structure. But as I said, be a good listener, because at times they want to talk. And when you go to them, we want to tell them stuff of our days. By the way, if you could see, they yawn in the inside of their heart. If you could see them inside out, they're like, you know, but now they have to listen, because I think in your days, all right, let me tell you about our days. And when you listen to them, you get to know them and understand them. And you get to know exactly what they're going through, and you take the journey with them, hence forging a friendship. You're a mother, number 1, and then a friend, number 2. Never mistake the two. You're never a friend then a mother. No, you're number 1, a mother. Put everything, discipline everything in order. And now you're also their friend. So they've got a place to run to. When the world is hitting them hard, they've got a place to run. You're available. Yeah.
All right. Remember, the number is right there on your screens, 0716103301. You can get to talk to us. You know, just as she was saying, you know, it's about building structure and all of that. Are there daily routines or daily habits that families can be able to put in place in order to help strengthen that family bond, even if there's any kind of pressure coming their way, they'll be able to withstand, whether economic pressures or any other sort of pressure coming their way? Are there particular daily routines that maybe you can talk about, you can talk of, that can be put in place?
A very nice question, because you see, families, as I said, you have to be very intentional on how you do everything. I'm giving an example with us. Our children, even from the time they were young, they knew the mom will prepare breakfast. And they would find it there. And there would be a prayer that she would either make or they would make before they eat breakfast because they would leave early. And you see, they got into that routine that if before they eat, there has to be a prayer that is done. Before they leave, they have to, you know, we have to make a prayer. Bless them as they go. And this, now one of them is 25 and the other one is 23. And so far, even if they are leaving, like the one who is the last born is now an intern in one of the airlines. She has to wait for a prayer. Dad, Mom, pray. And they are big enough. So it's something that you need to create. Create, number one, be intentional about, for example, if you can have a moment with them in the morning to eat something together and bless them as they leave for the day. That is very important. Again, they say a very old adage, families that eat together, stay together. And I also add the families that pray together, they stay stronger. So the thing is, having a meal together, that they know that they'll come and sit at a table. And it doesn't have to be a table because you can sit just around anywhere because homes are different. But the son and your daughter, or knowing that they'll come and sit with you, it says it actually hinders a lot of them from getting into drugs. Because they know, I have to come back home, I have to eat on a table with my parents. I can't come back smelling of cigarettes and alcohol and all that. So they somehow have to be careful of what they are doing. And of course, you have to also create moments where you talk. You create a moment where you can talk about issues, review what has been going on. And as Dr. Jane said, it is very important for us to listen, especially for parents to listen to the kids. Because it is most of us, it is parents who are talking. And of course, we usually talk about what used to happen. You know, in our days, we used to be respectful, but we are not listening to what these children are going through. And so we need to be so intentional. And I usually tell fathers, because especially for us men, we get bored with long stories. And especially when it comes to daughters. You know, daughters, they want to tell. You ask them, how was your day? Instead of saying, fine, they will say, let me tell you how it was. And if you're not ready to listen, you will stay there for another half an hour, and they can know when you have switched off. So I usually say, as a father, be there and ready to listen when you ask them how was their day. Sometimes when it comes to sons, their men are quieter, they have less words. So you have to know that when they begin to speak, don't finish their conversations. They sometimes just have to find words, and they have a struggle with finding words, but listen all the way to the end. So create those routines, pray together, eat together, have moments when you can ask them, how are you doing? And be ready to listen.
Okay.
And it will be okay.
All right. Some messages are coming in. Our WhatsApp line is 0716-103-301. It's right there on your screens. You can continue sending in the WhatsApp messages. So someone here is saying, thanks for the show and for bringing up this very critical discussion. Most women in marriages hardly accept to engage in discussions regarding paying bills. They say a man is the head of the family, and so all responsibilities are for him. So it is quite difficult. Let's talk about it. They are saying they're actually following the conversation all the way from South Sudan. Another one here has actually called us cousins. Hi, cousins. The conversation is great. We are following. Keep at it. So clearly, you know, from one of them that I've just read, which is actually how most of them are expressing it, like, you know, women do not want to be involved. You know, for the families where there's the man and the woman in the family, women do not want to be involved in the paying of bills because, I mean, a man is supposed to provide, and they leave it at that.
I agree, and I keep saying this. You cannot grow together on the budget, and I'm addressing the women. You cannot never grow on the budget of a man. Now, this man had the same money. Now, you have joined in to split his money even more. It just takes common sense, sincerely, to remove that selfishness. I know there's been a lot of teachings which I never agreed with, that what is yours is ours, what is mine, is mine. I've never agreed with that teaching. Never. I never agreed with it because I believe ni ya kupotosha, because I actually decided, some of the people who came up with the teaching, I decided to check on their lifestyle. And I asked myself, is this really true? From listening deeper, I discovered that's not how they live their lives. And I want to tell young people, don't be cheated. Don't be cheated. When you get into the marriage, it is a joy to also give. It is a joy, and a man will always respect a woman who has something to offer. Let me tell you a truth. A man will always respect a woman who has something to offer. Even if what you offer to tasema, me I can only afford unga tatu za ugali na mchele kilo mbili, you're still offering. It's not about how much. And I want also to say something. You can never build long-term visions on the account of one person. You can't. Otherwise, he could have done it alone. And I don't know, it is where we are told that the man has to provide. Yes, the man has what he has to provide, but the woman has more to provide, by the way. We provide the babies, we bring the babies to the world, and so we should also be nurturers. A third thing I want to say, it is important for us to even allow our children understand that you are a mommy who loves them by also bringing them something home. Yeah, gift is a language. So I want to tell a man, it's important to sit down and have this conversation. And to the women, let your money get married. When money is married, inazaa. Kitu kimeolewa, kimeoa huzaa. Kama akijawa kuolewa, finances zenu hazitawaizaa.
I love that.
Mtaka the same level. A lot of people say, you know, from the time now we decided to have common vision, common something, doors keep opening. Because even the good book says, where there is unity, God commands a blessing. So I want to tell the woman outside there, it is not oppression. However, at times it becomes oppressive. There has to be a balance where you can say, this is your money, this percentage is yours, this percentage is mine. Do with it what you want to do. But let us save this, let us pay bills with this.
Okay. All right. So I'll take that as your final remarks, actually, because it was very well put. Now I'll allow you to give us your final remarks in just a minute or less, because we're running out of time. In just a minute or less. And I would love for you to give it from the perspective of a man, for a man who's watching us right now, a family man who's watching us right now, and they're feeling overwhelmed with the bills and all. Your final remarks.
I will say this. There are a lot of men who have also refused the help of women. And God created women as helpers. And they take that pride off. You're almost dying inside knowing that you are broke, but you cannot approach your wife and tell her, I need help. There's nothing wrong asking for help. That's why we were given wives to help us. So I'll talk to that man who is feeling overwhelmed. Open up the channels of communication. Go to the table, tell your wife, I'm overwhelmed, naingia kwa madeni kwa sababu ya familia na nataka usaidizi. And you never know how many of these ladies will be willing to help.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate the both of you for coming on the show and for just shedding light on this very needed conversation. I believe that people have been able to pick a thing or two from our conversation. And happy Father's Day to you.
Thank you.
And a very happy Father's Day to each and every man who is watching us right now. I know that sometimes you get forgotten and we tend to celebrate the mothers more, but you as a father of the family are really appreciated. So happy Father's Day, even if it was yesterday. I bring my regards today. Happy Father's Day to you. This is where we end Good Morning Kenya for today. Thank you so much for staying tuned. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing. My name is Vivian Dagwa. Goodbye.
Uko na confidence sana?
Sana.
Yaani mama kukwama na hiyo uongo.
Uongo gani?
Mama yako ni nani? Why all this hatred towards me? You should be grateful that I'm here to help. I didn't ask for your help. Shiro, can I trust you?
Hi, madam. Hiyo sitakuwa responsibility kubwa sana.
You really think with that kind of attitude we are going to change this company?
What kind of attitude?
Kadi mwingine kanajivaa ni kadiva, badala kamsaidie kanataka compete na yeye.
Sasa unani?
Catering one-on-one. Cleanliness.
Shika hii cabbage.
Where is the onion?
Sasa what is this?
Mandazi.
Mandazi kuna nyama ndani. Nini mandazi ina gani?
Hii chakula hata unajua ni bei ngapi? Unataka nini?
Hata kama niko kichele, uwezi niletea mchele design.
Na sanga hii kamilo nimemeza tumba.
Nyamaza. Hakuna iwezekani. Atajua tu. Yeye kwani ni nani?
Ni nini mbaya na wewe Mogaka?
Umetumaliza kabisa yani, umetuchemuza.
Yes, now this is what we call the smoking flame. None. You see?
Karibu Tomega.
Hii ujinga yako ni ya ukoo.
Wheelchair tennis, one of the many sports for the physically challenged athletes, which is contested at the Paralympics, the Grand Slams, and the ITF BNP Paribas World Team Cup, which Kenyan ace Jena Diambondega will be gracing for the third time with her compatriots Phoebe Masika, Asiya Sururu Mohammed, and Elizabeth Njoki, whom you can see here, in what has indeed been an outstanding achievement.
When we are being led by God in it, I always say there's nothing that is difficult for us, and truly we've seen it.
Indeed, God's grace has been sufficient for Jane, who has come a long way to achieve such a great feat since she was impaired in her childhood.
No, I was born so beautiful. I shared that picture. I'm still beautiful, yes. Yes, with long hair. And then 5 years. And I always say, I don't know why it happened, but God says never ask why, but he had his own intentions. Because my parents are very intelligent. They are not people that I can say they missed this shindano ama nini. Because I always ask them, but I used to ask them, but nowadays I stopped. Because siku hizi niko tu sawa. So I used to ask them, in this family, kwani mlisahau aje? What happened? So they are like, oh, you started getting sick, nini, and then it's for polio. I've done so many surgeries on this leg, but ilikata. Maybe God alijua tu purpose yake. Na akasema, Jane, I just want you to be like this. So vile niko sahi, I thank God for it. Because pale hii mguu pia inanipeleka, singeenda kama natembea.
A family support was also sufficient to enable her to survive in all environments.
Yeah, it was not easy because of challenges. Like I'm alone in that school with my disability. And the teachers, they don't want to know. I don't know what my parents told my teachers. They were so strict with me. Because even at home, they are not like they are pampering me like, you are so special. No, me, I'm treated like the same other child. Kama ni beating me the same. I could find myself sometimes alone, like these children, they don't think that I need to do some things in school like sports. For instance, they can just come and give you their bags to carry, not knowing that even me, I want to play. But I don't blame them now. But before I used to blame them. But now, I don't blame them. But again, in secondary again, I did well by then. In high school, in primary, I was always the best. Paka nikaikuwa head girl of the entire school with my disability. And then again, I went Form 1, I did well, Form 2, Form 3, Form 4, I finished. Then I went to college. My parents took me again to a college where hakuna disability. I did public relations, I did customer care, I did counseling, a little bit. And then finally, I just went there and I said, I want to do something with the community development. And then I did something to how to relate with the social work, relate with the community.
However, she was not given a chance to participate in sports in the field of play until she met her mentor who would have broken through the barriers.
Then I met Mary Nakumecha, which I know you know. Then Mary Nakumecha, when she saw me, she said, you have good body, nini, come to sports. And I'm like, Sports? For who? Who can do sports? Me? Hapana. I've never even seen sports for women for persons with disability. That was my question. How am I going to play sports? Then akaanza, we play with wheelchair. Just come to Nyayo Stadium. You will see how we are playing. If you love it, you'll join. If you don't, again, you'll just go home. And I started it in 2020, it was 2007 or 2008 that year. As I just started, like, not kitambo, 207 or 8, I started sports. And then nikasema, kumbe I'm spending time at home just watching TV na watu wanafanya vitu za maana hapa nje. The day I entered that Nyayo Stadium, I've never stopped playing till now.
Where there is a will, there is a way. For that's how she realized her potential.
I started with wheelchair basketball. I played. Then they introduced sitting volleyball, which was there. Then I say, why can't I try sitting volleyball? I see how it goes. Then we started training behind Nyayo's gymnasium, Hapo. We started, before I know it, I was elected Secretary General for sitting volleyball within a branch. Then kidogo I'm elected to be the National Secretary General for the entire 47 counties. Then I served them for the last, from 2012 to 2016.
But the ride was not so smooth and she was forced to look for other pastures.
Even powerlifting I've done. So what discouraged me with powerlifting is one thing, but I'm not discouraged yet. I did the last All-African Games. They wanted 3 people. Then I went, I did well. I was not doing well in tennis, and I just focused on powerlifting, because when I want to get something, I have to focus on it. I focused on powerlifting till I was number 3. Then when people are going to the camp, they said the person who didn't even carry was going to the camp. So I said, does it work like this? This is total corruption. Then I said, am I supposed to be here really? If this is not for me, then I don't think if I'm here.
She found her way to wheelchair tennis and never looked back, despite the challenges they faced in the beginning.
We started like a joke. Elijah Mwandihis, you know Elijah? Elijah came and asked us, you wheelchair people, why can't we go to KQ? There's a game that is now 2012. Elijah came and told us, Jane, I'm inviting people. I want us to go to KU to do to play some game. We didn't even know that game, Mary. So we went and we are being given, not this one, for starters, the tennis for, the star rackets for starters. It's written ITF, they're light, nini. So you are hitting, you don't know what it is. And I'm like, what is this game? The name of this game. So surprisingly, to cut the story short, Mary, it was national selection in this thing that you don't know. Mwacha majabu zianze Kenyan School of Monetary Studies. Ati tunacheza. Hey, South Africa is there. Moro Egypt is there. And now ni watu wamecheza hii game wanajua what to do. Yaani ulikuwa unafuata ball, sasa we are playing Mary. Unafuata ball mpaka ile inaenda nje, unaifuata. Na ukipiga unaipiga inaendanga because you don't know anything. Okay. It was so embarrassing. Sasa tukaanza tu kuhit. After hiyo experience sasa unajua unachezanga na watu unaonana vile wanacheza. Tukaona hapa hii game tunaanza kutrain sasa. Me I just said I need to train this game. Nikaanza tu from that day kwanza kusema tu watu walianza hiyo game. I'm the one who still there. Nimestick hapo sijatoka 2012 mpaka saa hii. Mimi sema I'm not quitting.
Jen Denga's determination to succeed finally bore fruit to rise to the top with a lot of honors to her name.
I can say I have 9 gold medals, and then I have 7 silver medals, and then I have 5 bronze, which now within 2 years we've won 2 gold medals. And then when we went to Thailand, we reached finals with my double partner. We got silver. That one is recently too. And then when we go to, those are inclusive of opens, because I'm the current gold medal holder of current open. I won both singles and doubles. I'm still holding nangoja mtu akuje this year nitoe. Then Rwanda Open, I got silver. I was defeated. I lost in finals, but we didn't have doubles. And then Kenya Open, I'm still the gold medal I'm still the current holder of doubles gold medal, and then singles I'm silver because I lost it there. And again, which one? Features, South Africa features. We have bronze. I have bronze in features in South Africa. I have silver in features in Thailand. And which one do I have again? And many Kenya Open that we've done. If I add them is when I get to the number.
Her best achievements are recorded in the doubles, where she partners with Phoebe Masika, with the most memorable ones being achieved in 2017-2018.
The Karen Open tournament was very important because it's related to, I want to put it in a God's way so that you get the meaning of why that tournament was important. I've been playing tennis here and there, and then tournament we played in Rwanda, and then this tournament in Rwanda was, the person was not supposed to beat me in the finals. And then when I came to Karen, I said enough is enough. There's no way mtu atanizoyanga tu ati anajua I'm going to beat Jane. No way. And then everyone knew when I'm going to play this, she will win. Then that day when I was to play, I played my semis today, and then the next day was my finals. Then I just went from Karen. I didn't do anything in the house. I just went straight to worship. I'm telling you, God gave me the miracle I needed. There's no any way I could have beaten that lady 6-love, 6-1. If it's not for God, within 30 minutes, less than 30 minutes, I've already finished that final. That's what that is God answered prayer, and I just thank God for it. And it both singles and even doubles, we just finish like that. 6-2, 6-1. Then we finish and then we just wrap it.
This is what it took to achieve all that in wheelchair tennis, apart from a strong forehand.
Ukifika hapa inanidi tu racket na ball peke yake na kulisten to mtu anakufundisha peke yake, those three things. Alafu you need to be very focused na kuconcentrate hii game. Focus, you need to concentrate, and you need to be very quick, and your wheelchair has to be faster than any able person who get ball, because mtu atakuwekea tu hapo, ata make sure umekuwekea huko na upate hiyo ball, na hivyo ndio game inachezwa.
The Ace hopes all these will come in handy again in the Wheelchair World Team Cup from the 28th of May to the 3rd of June 2018 in Netherlands, where they hope to perform better than the previous editions.
We can't compete against South Africa. They are too far for us. And that's our dream, that one day when we beat them, we'll say we've done something. But when they miss coming for qualifiers, we always say that you're already there. So in 2014, they didn't come, and then we play against, it was 7 teams, Africa 7 teams. Then we merged, we play against Morocco, then we qualified. That is 2014. Then we went to Netherlands in the Hague or at the 8th preposition. Then we went to the Hague, we played, we came last. That one was so sad in World Cup because it's among the best. But we thank God again, we didn't stop there. 2017 again, we qualified last year. We went to Italy. We didn't do badly as 2014. We improved, we came up. Now we beat Chile, the team that played well, and they have their wheelchairs best. We beat them, Italy, and then we are position 3 last. That is congratulations from the last. So 2018 again, we are praying and telling God, yes, you've opened the door and we've qualified. Really last year we trained well. We really trained well. Even this year when we are starting it, I called all the players. We said now we have an office, because last year we were like struggling, how will we get the money, blah, blah, blah. But the government really helped.
They have what it takes, given the support they get from Tennis Kenya and the government through the Ministry of Sports, not forgetting the well-wishers who have been called upon to help them get specially designed wheelchairs, for they use improvised ones in this game where the ball is allowed to bounce twice in their class.
The first challenge is wheelchairs. I always say about wheelchairs, and I think it's high time I stop repeating or just always talking about wheelchairs. It's a challenge because, for one, we need many players to come aboard, but we don't have many wheelchairs. And when I talk about wheelchairs, not just wheelchairs for motivation. This is why we were given, these wheelchairs are 7 years old. And if you check the wheelchairs that players are using, the players that are called international players now, is a very nice wheelchair. We need to recruit young, we need to have youth junior development program, which we are starting with Coach Veronica Osogo. We need to have, the reason why we need it, because for once, I'm soon retiring. I can say that, but I'm not retiring. Someone who is hoping that I'm retiring soon, no. I'm retiring as I recruit young players. I thank God for Njoki is there, Asia is there. When I leave, I will still I know Asia is there and Njoki is there. But me and Phoebe, when we leave, we need to leave like, the target is like, let's have many counties starting a wheelchair tournament, wheelchair tennis.
Apart from voicing the needs of players, Jane also works with the children in a bid to help them also come out in the open and embrace their potential.
My 3rd year right now, that organization is called Action Network for the Disabled. It's an organization that fights for empowerment of youth, children with disability. And this is where we, on my on our project is Changing the Game, Sports for Inclusion, where I'm based at Treeside Primary and then Kasarani Primary, where we have an autism unit. In this school, what I do is I visit parents with children with disability. You know, Mary, their children that are kept at home. And this has been my desire before, and I thank God for this organization because my dreams are just being fulfilled. Because I always wonder if my parents just get me at home, ingekuwa aje, you see. But now I have an opportunity to go and speak to a parent, tell them where I've come from and where I am and what I'm doing. And then I relate to their children, whether it's cerebral palsy, autism. When I'm visiting, I'm not categorizing, or I'm visiting this or I'm visiting every disability, every kind. It's not all about education. Just bringing them out in the light like this. You know, when they're with children, they're happy, they're joking around, they're playing. The ones in wheelchair, I just throw the balls, we laugh together, and the smile the children gives me, it's awesome.
The born-again champion is optimistic that many other doors will be open for the physically challenged if we all take the initiative to embrace them and assist them realize their potential, just like they did to make their mark in the society and put Kenya on the world map in wheelchair tennis.
I always say that changing the world is not changing that you just sit there. It needs hard work, it needs passion, it needs you just recognize where you are good at. And after recognizing where you are at, just put God in it and start it. Just lay your foundation with God, and then God will take over that ministry that you want. If it's sports, if it's work, if it's at home, don't be just sitting, waiting things to happen. Be there and make things change things that you want to change. Like for instance, if you're in sports, do your best. Always do your best. If you are training, always have discipline with the coach that is training you. Respect comes with so many things. When you are disciplined and when you have respect for the people that are training you, be it whoever you are given to train you, just have respect for them.
King George, that's what they call him for his prowess on the soccer pitch. His goals. Got the fear of missing out? Want to keep up with all the latest entertainment news and latest celebrity gossip? From the latest rumors to popping events to the newest fashion trends, here is where you get all the tea or juice when it comes to entertainment, and you get it served on time. All that and so much more on Grapevine every single Monday only on KBC Channel 1. Remember, if you did not see it on Grapevine, then it most probably never happened.
Semana Sports.
Semana Sports is a bold, enlightening television show that offers Kenyans a direct line to the heart of government operations. Hosted by the government spokesman, Isaac Mwaura.
Welcome to Semana Sports Bonga Gava.
This weekly program features candid conversations with senior government officials, cabinet secretaries, and heads of key parastatals as they break down their ministry's achievements, challenges, and strategic plans.
Cage aquaculture farming, yes. 8.7 billion.
Yes.
So there's a lot of money.
There's a lot of, and we have not even tapped the potential.
As we get closer to start constructing the first nuclear program, we should have a robust regulatory framework.
Thank you, the spokesperson, for this chance. where we are able to converse with our government.
Semana Sports.
Hii sio story ya jaba.
Sio story za jaba. Mimi ni Mkenya mzalendo daima.
Thank you.
Tuesday at 8 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
A very good morning to you. My name is Daniel Wahome and welcome to Sports Check on this Monday morning, the 16th day of June 2025. We're going to be having conversations, and this is out in the field where everything is happening. One, we're going to be having a conversation about boxing, and yes, and this is Dondi Mashinani. Alliance Française, which is the French cultural center, Mombasa, has supported the Mombasa County Boxing Association through a program that is going to run till the end of the year. Anburu is going to be there, and she's going to be speaking with, amongst others, Lucas Malco, who is the director of Alliance Française Mombasa, is going to be speaking with Crispin Onyango, who is the secretary of the Mombasa County Boxing Association. Also, they're going to be speaking with Lenny Katibi, who is a legend of Mombasa boxing. And also, remember, there are going to be 2 coaching courses, one for coaches and the other one for referees and judges. The coaches will be taken through this by the national team gaffer, Musa Benjamin, who's also the treasurer of the Boxing Federation of Kenya. And also there is Nelson Otieno, who's going to be giving, the information and teaching the referees and judges. Nelson Otieno is the chair of the Boxing Federation of Kenya, Referees and Judges Commission. And then we're going to also be having a conversation around cricket. We're going to be speaking with Lydia Kapara, who is the coordinator of the NPCA Women's League. And this is after the start of the NPCA Women's T10 Handball League, started over the weekend in Nairobi, being played at the Ruaraka Sports Club and also at the Eastleigh High School. This is purely